When I rushed to the Civil Affairs Bureau, my girlfriend was standing in front of the red background wedding photo with her childhood friend. When she saw me, her first reaction was not to let go of his hand, but to frown. "Why are you here? Didn't I say it was just a fake marriage registration, to help him get a home buying qualification?" Hisu smiled and shook the marriage certificate. "Bro, don't be so petty. You've had feelings for so many years. Are you really scared of a piece of paper?" I looked at the window behind them, took out my phone, and changed all the permissions for the company's jointly managed account. The instant the text message popped up, Jiang Tinglan's expression finally changed. She lowered her head to look at her phone. The alert sent by the banking system was very clear. Launcher Technology jointly managed account approval permissions have been changed. The original second-level approver Jiang Tinglan's permissions are no longer valid. She still hadn't put the marriage certificate in her bag when she was already walking toward me. "Shinjibai, are you crazy?" I turned my phone back over in my palm. "I'm not crazy." I glanced at Hisu behind her. "I just suddenly remembered that it's not very appropriate for a married person to manage my company's money on someone else's behalf." Jiang Tinglan's face instantly darkened. There were quite a few people in the Civil Affairs Bureau lobby. Some people had just gotten their marriage certificate and were holding flowers while taking photos. Some people had just gotten divorced and were sitting on a chair crying. She was wearing the white shirt I helped her pick out last month, and the ends of her hair were still clipped with the pearl hairpin I gave her. Back then she said that once Company B's round of financing was finalized, we'd go take ID photos together. I thought she was talking about our ID photos, but it turned out she went to take them with Hisu first. Hisu stuffed the marriage certificate into his pocket, looking very relaxed as he smiled. "Brother Jibai, don't put it so harshly. Tinglan is just helping me out in an emergency. I don't have enough social insurance under my name, so I can't buy that school district apartment. She already explained it to you. It's just a formality. Go through the motions." I looked at Jiang Tinglan. "How far along are the formalities? Red background photos, vows, signatures, or will you also want me to pick the date for your divorce later?" A flicker of irritation flashed in her eyes. "Not out of a guilty conscience, it's because she resents me for embarrassing her in such a situation. I told you last night that Hisu's parents are in a hurry to finalize the house purchase, otherwise they won't be able to pay the remaining balance and will lose the spot. He grew up with me, and I can't just stand by and watch him be pushed to the brink." I smiled. "So your dead end is the Civil Affairs Bureau." She lowered her voice. "Can you stop talking with that sarcastic tone? We're not really husband and wife." Hisu also took a step forward. He was half a head shorter than me, though his suit was brand new, with the price tag still hanging from the cuff, not fully cut off. "Bro, I know you're pissed, but we're men. Let's be a little more big-minded. In the future, Tinglan will still be living her life with you. I'm not going to steal her away." As soon as he said that, everyone standing in line nearby turned to look. Jiang Tinglan couldn't keep up appearances and tugged at his sleeve. "Say a little less." Hisu immediately shut his mouth. The movement was so familiar it was like he'd practiced it many times. I lowered my eyes and saw the watch on his left wrist. Silver dial, black strap. I recognize it. When the company landed its first major client last year, I transferred 30,000 yuan to Jiang Tinglan and told her to buy a watch she liked. To celebrate her getting through the hardest stretch, she said it was too expensive and couldn't bear to spend that much. I never saw what that money bought again. It turned out to be on Hisu's wrist. I didn't ask. Even if I had, all I would have heard was, "He just got back to the country, and money's tight." Jiang Tinglan's phone rang again. She glanced at it, and her brow furrowed even more tightly. "You locked the corporate online banking too, this morning. We need to pay the final installment of the down payment for Hisu's side." The moment she blurted it out, a small corner of the hall suddenly fell silent. Even the smile on Hisu's face froze for a moment. I looked at her. "Use Launcher Technology's corporate account to pay Hisu's down payment and final payment." Jiang Tinglan opened her mouth, as if only then realizing she had let something slip. Hisu reacted faster than she did. He immediately took over. "It's not for a down payment, it's just temporary cash flow. Tinglan said your company account has idle funds, so lend me some to bridge it for now. I'll pay it back in 2 days. I opened the bank page and pulled up the transfer pending approval. The recipient was a real estate agency service company registered under Hisu's mother's name. Amount, 860,000. The purpose field read, channel prepayment. I turned the phone screen toward Jiang Tinglan. "This is what you call a 2-day turnaround." Jiang Tinglan's face paled a little. "That's because a personal transfer is too conspicuous, and his side has to go through the proper accounts. Legitimate accounting." I repeated it, taking the phone back. "Use my startup account to buy a house for your legal husband, and list it as channel advance payment." A fire finally lit up in her eyes. "Don't talk so filthy." Did I talk filthy? I glanced at the marriage certificate in her hand. "Or did you two make it clean?" Hisu couldn't keep a straight face anymore. "Shinjibai, that's enough." Tinglan and I have known each other for more than 20 years, and how many years have you been with her? What's wrong with her helping me once? Isn't your company about to get funding? What does 860,000 yuan mean to you? That sentence was louder than a marriage certificate. I suddenly understood why Jiang Tinglan dared to, because she had long ago laid my cards on the table for Hisu. The financing was almost finalized, the client list was in place, the cash flow in the account could hold up. She may even have told him that I wouldn't really turn against her, after all, over these 7 years, starting from that little print shop downstairs from the university dorms. When she said she wanted to start a business, I took out the money I had saved from my part-time jobs. She said she didn't want to spend her whole life working for someone else, so I stayed up with her all night working on proposals. She said she only trusted me, so for the company's first joint account, I added her to it. I thought that was trust. She used it to pave the way for someone else. Jiang Tinglan reached out to take my phone, change the permissions back first, if the final payment doesn't arrive before noon today. Hisu's apartment deal will fall through. I stepped back half a step. Yellow is yellow. She froze. What did you say? I said. What does it have to do with me if his apartment deal fell through? Jiang Tinglan's eyes turned red at once, not from grievance, but from panic. Shenjibai, don't make trouble. Hisu's family has already put everything they have into this house, and his mother's blood pressure shot up last night. If you block this now, aren't you forcing someone to their death? I looked at her. Did you think about forcing anyone when you accompanied him to get the marriage certificate? Her lips moved slightly. I'm not like you. How are you not like me? Her voice lowered. You still have the company. Hisu has nothing. When I heard that sentence, my fingers paused on the edge of my phone. Hisu has nothing, so he can take her identity, take my money, and take our client resources. I have a company, so I deserve to hand over everything I've painstakingly built up over the years into his hands. At the other end of the hall, the staff's voice calling the next number rang out. Next, divorce registration pre-screening. Someone let out a laugh, then quickly covered their mouth. Jiang Tinglan couldn't keep a straight face and turned to drag me into the corner. There are too many people here, let's talk outside. I didn't move. Say it right here. She held back her anger. Do you have to make me lose face? I looked at the red booklet in her hand. Aren't you afraid of letting me watch you register your marriage with someone else at the civil affairs office? What am I afraid of? This time, she was truly stunned. Hisu's phone suddenly rang. He lowered his head to answer it, and his expression instantly changed. Mom, don't worry, I'm urging them. What? The agent said if the payment doesn't arrive, they'll give the unit to someone else. No, that apartment can't be given up. He covered the receiver with his hand and turned to look at Jiang Tinglan. Tinglan, hurry up and have him release the money. My mom is surrounded by people at the sales office. Jiang Tinglan looked at me right away. I knew that look all too well. Back when the company's accounts were 10,000 short of making payroll, she looked at me that way too. Back when a client suddenly canceled an order, she looked at me that way too. Whenever she looked at me like that, I'd go figure out a way, but this time, I didn't move. At last, she grew anxious, her voice taking on a commanding tone. Shenjibai, take care of the matter first. I looked at her. I'm taking care of it. I clicked into the company backend and paused all 3 payments currently in progress: supplier prepayment, channel payment, outsourcing technical fee. 2 of the payees were companies registered by Hisu less than half a year ago. I sent the screenshot to the company's finance group. From now on, all payments involving Hisu, the He family, and Shuhang Consulting are suspended. No further disbursements will be made without my written confirmation. The group fell silent for 3 seconds. Finance Xiao Chen was the first to reply with a single word: received. Immediately after, account manager Zhou Ming popped up in private chat. Mr. Shen, Shengyuan just called and said the contract signatory has been changed. Their legal team is asking to suspend this week's Go Live acceptance. I stared at those words, and my heart sank. Shengyuan was Launcher Technology's most important client over the past 6 months. If acceptance were suspended, the key revenue item in the financing documents would be sent back for review. Seeing the look on my face, Jiang Tinglan immediately asked, "What's wrong with the company?" I handed her the phone to show her. She glanced at it, and her face turned pale all at once. How did Shengyuan know the signer had changed? You're asking me. She said nothing. I looked towards Hisu. Hisu avoided my gaze, but his fingers gripped the phone tightly. Jiang Tinglan seemed to realize something and turned to ask him, "Did you use my computer to send the Shengyuan contract attachment?" Hisu's lips twitched slightly. "I only helped you organize the materials once. Did you touch the signature page?" His voice suddenly rose. "How would I know about this? Didn't you say that in the future the project could be listed under my consulting name a bit, so my loan statement would look better?" The moment those words fell, Jiang Tinglan's face turned as white as the registration wall. In the hall, I reached out and took my phone back, so it wasn't just the final payment. She looked at me sharply. Ji-bai, listen to me explain. I turned off the screen. Save your explanations for Xingyuan Legal. Just then, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't from the bank, nor from the company group chat. It was an automated contract filing reminder forwarded to my email. The subject line read, Launstone Technology Channel Cooperation Supplementary Agreement, Party B, Shuhang Consulting. On the last page of the attachment, there is Jiang Tinglan's electronic signature. The signing time is 9:17 this morning, that is, 10 minutes before she received the certificate. I opened the attachment. The third clause of the supplementary agreement is clearly written. Launcher Technology agrees to settle 30% of the subsequent channel service fees from the Xingyuan project into the account of Shuhang Consulting. I held my phone screen up in front of her. Jiang Tinglan. She looked at the agreement, and the marriage certificate in her hand slipped slightly through her fingers. I asked her, before you went with him to get the certificate, did you also conveniently give him a 30% share of my project? Too. Jiang Tinglan did not immediately deny it. She just stared at the agreement, her breathing faltering for half a beat. Hisu spoke before she did. What do you mean, your project? Isn't the company something you and Tinglan built together? She has the right to allocate resources. I look at him. When did you become a resource? His face stiffens. Jiang Tinglan immediately steps in front of him. Hisu is not a resource, he just wants to start over using Xingyuan's channel fees. He used to do real estate consulting and has client experience. Having his company name on it isn't a bad thing. I opened the agreement, my fingertips pausing over the signature line. This supplementary agreement did not go through the board. There was no financial review, and no legal seal. You used my admin account to process the e-signature, didn't you? A flicker flashed through Jiang Tinglan's eyes. That was enough. I forwarded the agreement to the legal counsel. Then, right in front of her, I logged out of all the devices she had signed in on. System prompts kept popping up one after another. Device, JTL MacBook, has gone offline. Device, HX iPad, has gone offline. I stared at the second device name, HX, Hisu. I looked up at him. Did you log into the company's backend using her tablet? Hisu immediately chuckled. Don't blow this out of proportion. Tinglan asked me to help her review some materials. I'm not a hacker. You reviewed the materials and saw the contract signing permissions. The smile on his face could no longer be maintained. Jiang Tinglan's voice tightened. That day I was driving, so I asked him to send an attachment for me. I asked her, who did he send the attachment to? She fell silent. I spoke for her. Xingyuan Legal Affairs. The Xingyuan project took me a full 8 months from negotiations to implementation. I waited downstairs at their building for 6 nights, worked with their technical lead to revise the pilot plan 17 times, and even noted down things like their boss's younger son being allergic to nuts and unable to eat them. Jiang Tinglan is responsible for closing business deals. She knows best that this project cannot afford any signature risks, yet she still let Hisu in. It's not that she doesn't understand. She thought I would cover for her. A hurried clicking of high heels came from the entrance of the lobby. A middle-aged woman in a purple skirt suit rushed in. Seeing Hisu, she shouted, "Where's the money? The sales office said the payment hasn't come through." Xiaoxiu, didn't you get the certificate already? Why is the loan still stuck? She was so loud that several people at the windows turned to look. Hisu's face turned pale. Mom, keep your voice down. His mother looked at Jiang Tinglan and immediately grabbed her hand. Tinglan, dear, I know you have a good heart. You can't back out now. The apartment number is already reserved, and the salesperson said if we delay another half hour, it'll go to someone else. You and Xiaosu are legally married now, and this apartment will be part of your shared security in the future. Jiang Tinglan's wrist was red from her grip. She wanted to pull it free, but she was wary of the people in the lobby. Auntie, there's been a problem with the money. Mother, he immediately looked at me. He doesn't want it transferred, does he? Her gaze swept from my face to my phone, and her tone turned sharp all at once. Young man, even if you're dating Tinglan, you can't be this overbearing, can you? A girl is just doing a friend a favor, and you're cutting off her money like this. Aren't you ruining her future? Before I could say anything, Hisu stepped in to stop her, pretending to be the peacemaker. Mom, stop talking. Brother Jibai just can't accept it for the moment. Mother, he only got more fired up. What's there to not accept? Tinglan didn't marry him anyway. You two were just dating, with no marriage certificate and no legal relationship. The name on the certificate now is my son's. It's only right that she help her own husband handle the down payment. Jiang Tinglan's face suddenly turned ugly. Auntie, we agreed it was just a sham marriage registration, Mrs. He paused. Her eyes were sharp, and she quickly changed her tone. Even if it's fake, it's still real in the eyes of the law. Besides, you and Xiaoxiu grew up together, and our two families know each other inside and out. He's much more reliable than those men who come out of nowhere. a man who came halfway through. I almost laughed. I've been with Jiang Tinglan for 7 years. I stayed with her from a single desk, a second-hand computer, and a leaky office until today. In He Mu's mouth, it was reduced to only halfway. Jiang Tinglan clearly heard it too. She frowned. Auntie Jingshurbai is not an outsider. He Mu immediately picked up on her words and continued from there. Since we're not outsiders, you should help even more. Xiao Shen, your company is doing so well. This amount is nothing to you. We'll pay it back as soon as the loan comes through. After saying this, she took out a printed document from her bag and handed it directly to Jiang Tinglan. By the way, the sales department mentioned that for married couples buying a house, we need to provide a joint repayment commitment. Please sign this. Jiang Tinglan was stunned. Joint repayment, just a procedure. Mother, he shoved the pen into her hand. It's just to prove that you and your husband have a stable income, so the loan can be approved more easily. Aren't you running a company? Banks like people like you the most. Jiang Tinglan did not take the pen. She looked at Hisu. You didn't tell me before that we would be co-borrowers. Hisu immediately explained. I just found out too. The salesperson said the policy is strict now, and if we don't add it, the loan won't be approved. Jiang Tinglan's voice turned a little cold. Then why does the commitment letter say that I am listed as the associated borrower? I followed her gaze. The name of the bank was printed at the top of the paper. The following lines are glaringly harsh. I, Jiang Tinglan, voluntarily serve as a co-repayment guarantor for Hisu's home purchase loan and assume joint and several liability for the repayment of this loan. The atmosphere in the hall shifted. Several passersby who had previously thought I was causing a scene out of jealousy now began to glance toward Hisu and his mother. He seemed to have already been prepared. Between husband and wife, what difference does it make who is the primary one and who is the secondary? The house is for you two to live in later. Jiang Tinglan's fingers tightened around the marriage certificate. Whose name is on the house? Hisu was getting anxious. Tinglan, let's not dwell on the name for now. The sales office is waiting. I'm asking you, whose name will be on the house? Hisu didn't answer. Mother, he answered for him. Under Xiao Su's name. After all, our family paid the down payment. I spoke up. Wasn't there still a shortfall of 860,000 yuan for the down payment? Mother, he glared at me. That's just a temporary cash flow arrangement. I zoomed in on the pending transfer record on my phone. The recipient is a company under your name, and the purpose is listed as channel advance payment. Auntie, you're quite skilled at issuing invoices for such temporary arrangements. The expression on her face finally cracked. Hisu pressed down on the document in her hand. Shenjibai, today this is between Tinglan and me. Don't meddle. You married her, used my company's money, split my company's projects, and now you want me not to meddle. I stepped forward. Hisu, have you forgotten, when Shuhang Consulting was registered, the address listed was Launcher Technologies' old office? His expression suddenly changed. Jiang Tinglan was also stunned. What old office? I opened the business information page and handed it to her. You don't know? She took it and slowly lowered her eyes to look. Shuhang Consulting, legal representative. Hisu, registered address, room 402, no, 17 Nanjiang Road. That was the first office of Launcher Technology. The rent was paid by me. I was also the one who went to collect the move-out deposit. Later, the landlord said he wanted to rent it out again, and I returned the keys. I never authorized anyone to use this address to register a company. Jiang Tinglan's face grew ever paler. How did you get this address, Hisu? Hisu's expression flickered for a moment. I used to go to your company a lot. It's normal that I remember the address. To register a company, you need a lease proof. I said, where are you from? His mother suddenly interjected. Xiao Su only borrowed the address for convenience in handling business. What's the big deal? Your company isn't using it. Anyway, I looked at Jiang Tinglan. She didn't speak up for them again, but she didn't look at me either. She looked at the marriage certificate in her hand, as if she had finally realized it wasn't just a piece of paper, it was a nail. Nail her into the He family's abacus. Her phone rang. The caller ID showed it was Manager Wang from the sales office. Hisu immediately urged, answer it. Jiang Tinglan didn't move. Mrs. He was so anxious that she directly pressed the speakerphone for her. The man's voice from the other end of the phone quickly came through. Ms. Jiang, the final payment from Mr. He hasn't been received yet. Additionally, the bank just reported that the cash flow of the company under your name is good, but there's a record of an external guarantee that still needs further explanation. Are you available to come to the sales office now? Jiang Tinglan abruptly looked up. External guarantees. Manager Wang was also taken aback. Didn't Mr. He mention it to you? The documentation package includes a personal authorization form you signed, authorizing inquiries into credit reports, corporate transaction records, and related liabilities. The bank's preliminary review has already been processed. Jiang Tinglan's voice trembled. When did I ever sign a personal authorization form? There was a 2-second silence on the other end of the phone. The The records show it was electronically signed at 10:46 last night, and the phone number ending in those digits is the one you normally use. Jiang Tinglan froze in place last night at 10:46 p.m. She sent me a message saying Hisu had an emotional breakdown, and she was going to accompany him for a chat. I replied to her, "Come back early, the investors will review Xing Yuan's materials tomorrow morning." She replied with an then there was nothing after that. Hisu's face had completely gone pale. Tinglan, listen to me, the authorization is only to check the records, it doesn't mean you have to take on anything. Jiang Tinglan turned her head. My phone was with you last night, you were drunk, so I held onto it for you. What's the password? He swallowed. You told me before. Jiang Tinglan's eyes turned red. It wasn't as if she had never been wronged. At the hardest point in her startup journey, an investor said to her face that a girl couldn't carry a company, and she never even teared up. But now, holding a marriage certificate, she stood in the Civil Affairs Bureau lobby, being forced by her childhood sweetheart and his mother to acknowledge a loan. Only then did she finally feel hurt, but what hurt wasn't my 7 years, she herself was counted in. I don't want to watch anymore. I turned and walked out. Jiang Tinglan reacted and grabbed me. Jibai, don't go yet. I stopped, her voice softened a lot. I'll handle this matter, but as for the company, don't let Xingyuan stop for now, the financing can't go wrong. It's the result of all our years of hard work. She finally remembered that word again. I pried her fingers apart. Xingyuan has stopped. Her pupils contracted. Why? I looked at Hisu. Because your legal husband used your account to send an additional agreement to Xingyuan. As soon as he finished speaking, my phone rang. It was Xingyuan's legal affairs director. I answered the call. The other party didn't bother with any pleasantries. His voice was very cold. Mr. Shen, we've just finished checking the system records, in the supplementary agreement your company sent over this morning. The party beside, Shuhang Consulting, had already submitted a channel commitment letter to us 3 months ago, under the identity of a private recommendatory party introduced by Mr. Jiang. My fingertips paused. 3 months ago, yes. The commitment letter stated that Lonstone Technology was willing to allocate a fixed percentage from the total repayments of the Xingyuan project to Shuhang Consulting, with MS. Jiang Tinglan making a personal joint guarantee. Jiang Tinglan stood beside me, the color gradually draining from his face. There was a pause on the other end of the phone, followed by an additional remark. Mr. Shen, we need to clarify one thing now. Is this letter of commitment an authorized action by your company, or is it Mr. Jiang's personal initiative? I looked up and saw Hisu instinctively take half a step back. His hand had already reached the doorknob of the side door of the Civil Affairs Bureau, the joint repayment commitment letter in Jiang Tinglan's hand was finally blown open to the second page by the wind. At the very bottom of the second page, her signature was already in place. 3. At the moment Jiang Tinglan saw the signature, her fingers suddenly loosened. The joint repayment commitment letter fell to the ground. Mother, he bent down to pick it up. I stepped on the corner of the paper first. She looked up and glared at me. What are you doing? I bent down to pick up the paper and held it up to the light for a look. The signature is not electronically printed, it was handwritten, scanned, and pasted in. I know Jiang Tinglan's handwriting too well. When she writes the final stroke of the character Lan, she presses downward, like a small hook. This signature is also present, but the strokes are stiff, and the ending is abrupt. It looks like it was cut from another document. I handed the paper to Jiang Tinglan. See clearly. She took it, her gaze falling on the signature, the panic on her face gradually turning cold. This is the signature I used when authorizing the supplier last year. Hisu immediately said, impossible, don't let him lead you astray. Jiang Tinglan looked up at him. That authorization letter, you accompanied me to the print shop to have it scanned. Hisu's lips tightened. The hall was filled with noise. Someone whispered, isn't this marriage fraud? Another person said, making someone take on a loan on the day they get their marriage certificate is terrifying. Himu's face turned pale as she grabbed Hisu's arm. Xiao Su, don't talk about it here, let's go to the sales office first, the house is what matters. Jiang Tinglan suddenly laughed upon hearing the words, the house is important, so what am I? Mother, he was stunned. Tinglan, what are you saying? Am I the home buying qualification, the income stream, the co-borrower, or your family's channel for covering the down payment? Hisu anxiously reached out to pull her back. Don't listen to Shinjibai's provocation, right now. He just wants you to turn against me so you'll go back and beg him. Jiang Tinglan shook off his hand. Then tell me, what's the deal with that channel commitment letter from 3 months ago? What commitment letter? I don't know, you don't know. She handed her phone to him. Xingyuan Legal had just sent over that letter of commitment. The letter stated that Launcher Technology agreed to give Shuhang Consulting priority in undertaking the long-term business maintenance rights for the Xingyuan project. At the signature line, there was not only Jiang Tinglan's signature, but also an attached note, referrer, Jiang Tinglan, emergency contact, Hisu, emergency contact. When I saw those 4 words, it felt like something had struck my chest with a dull blow, not because the label itself was especially important, but because in the financing party's due diligence materials, I had listed myself as my own emergency contact, Jiang Tinglan. I thought we were backing each other up on the same table. On another table, she put Hisu in. Hisu is still making excuses. That was just a regular business referral. You agreed to help me transition into consulting back then. I didn't force you. Jiang Tinglan pointed at the signature. I never agreed to let you take a cut from the Xingyuan project, but you said you'd help me as long as I could stand on my own. His voice suddenly took on a tone of grievance. Tinglan, have you forgotten how I protected you when we were kids? When you were locked in the equipment room by your classmates, I was the one who went to find the teacher. When your parents argued, I was the one who sat with you downstairs. Now, just when I'm this close, you're going to push me away. Those words were like an old rope, skillfully tightening around her neck. I've seen this before. During college, Hisu first asked her for money, saying he was being ostracized by his classmates. Upon graduation, Hisu didn't want to work in another city, saying that if she left, he would have no one. Last year, when Hisu's business failed, he said that if even she wouldn't help, he really couldn't hold on. Each time, he wasn't asking, he was demanding. He made her remember that she owed him. Jiang Tinglan's gaze flickered. Mrs. He seized the opportunity to wipe away her tears. Tinglan, Auntie isn't forcing you. Xiaoxiu has been set on you since he was a child, and after all the twists and turns, you two got your marriage certificate. That's fate. You've been with this Shen, whatever, for a few years, and he hasn't married you either, has he? Jiang Tinglan's fingers trembled. I didn't respond. If I tried to explain at this moment, she would only think I was arguing again. I opened my phone and saved the call recording from Xingyuan's legal department, then sent it to the company lawyer. Jiang Tinglan noticed my movement. What are you going to do? Secure the evidence? Her expression changed. Are you really going to take this to a legal level? From the moment you got your marriage certificate, it already became a legal matter. Su suddenly sneered. Shenjibai, don't try to scare people. Tinglan owns half the company, and the agreement she signed may not necessarily be invalid. If this really blows up, no one will get the Xingyuan project. At last, he stopped pretending with that line. Jiang Tinglan suddenly looked at him. What do you mean? Hisu also seemed to realize he had let his guard down and immediately withdrew his expression. I was just reminding him not to take things too far. I put my phone back in my pocket. Thanks for the reminder. I walked to the waiting area on one side of the Civil Affairs Bureau lobby, where there were a few empty chairs. I sat down and called the company's legal counsel. When the call connected, I only said 3 things. First, revoke Jiang Tinglan's authority to approve all unfinished contracts at Launcher Technology. Second, verify all payments and attachments related to Shuhang Consulting and the He family's associated companies over the past 6 months. Third, send an official letter to Xingyuan, stating that the supplementary agreement signed this morning was not authorized by the board of directors, and request a suspension of its implementation while reserving the right to pursue accountability. Jiang Tinglan stood in place, listening. Her face was even paler than before. After I hung up the phone, she walked over and spoke in a low voice. If you do this, the financing will be affected. It's already been affected. Do you have to drag the company into this? I looked up at her. Was I the one who dragged the company into this? Her throat seemed to choke up. Hisu stepped forward and spoke coldly. Stop playing the victim. If it weren't for Tinglan running the clients back then, would Launstone Technology be where it is today? Now you're revoking her permissions. Isn't it just an attempt to take over the company for yourself? Jiang Tinglan did not immediately refute him. This pause, I saw it clearly. I stood up. Jiang Tinglan, do you think so too? She bit her lip. I just think you could calm down first. Calm down to what extent? I asked her. Calm enough for me to keep lending, to keep letting Xingyuan's money flow into Suhang Consulting, to keep paying the mortgage for your lawful husband. A hurt expression appeared on her face. Could you stop calling him my lawful husband every time you speak? I looked at her. That's the truth. Her tears fell. But the one in my heart is you. The hall grew a little quieter. Someone walked out. After getting their marriage certificate, initially smiling, but upon hearing those words, their smile froze on their face. I once really wanted to hear her say those words. Every time she left in the middle of the night because of Hisu, when she canceled our anniversary dinner to go pick up Hisu, when she said, he only has me, but you're different. I wanted to hear her tell me in person that I was the one she firmly chose, but she said it only after getting someone else's marriage certificate. I Glanced down at the time, 10:56, the bank's final payment deadline is 12 o'clock, the response deadline given by Xingyuan Legal is 11:30, the company's finance group chat has already exploded, Xiaochen sent a series of screenshots over the past 4 months, Shuhong Consulting took away 347,000 yuan from Launcher Technologies related expenses under the names of channel advance payment, offline expansion fee, and outsourced research fee, each amount was not large, each one fell within Jiang Tinglan's individual approval authority. I sent the screenshot to Jiang Tinglan. After seeing the first one, her expression changed. After seeing the second one, her hands began to tremble. By the third one, she turned directly to look at Hisu. Did you take this money? Hisu avoided eye contact. It's a business transaction with the company, how can you call it taking? What kind of business is that? I've helped you connect with clients. Which client? He was stumped by the question. Mrs. He immediately interjected. Tinglan, you can't side with outsiders now, you and Xiaoxiu are husband and wife, if he gets into trouble, you won't be able to escape either. First, stabilize the money issue, and we'll discuss the rest at home. Go home. Jiang Tinglan seemed to be pricked by these two words, taking a sudden step back. I won't go home with you, mother. His face darkened. We've already gotten the certificate. If you don't go back to the He family, where else would you go? Hisu grabbed her, his voice lowered to a whisper, Mom, but it was already too late. Jiang Tinglan finally understood, this so-called fake marriage certificate was never fake, only she thought it was fake. My phone vibrated again, this time it's the financing consultant. Mr. Shen, the investors just received an anonymous email claiming that your company's core customer revenue involves related party benefit transfers. They require a supplementary explanation by this afternoon. I stared at the words, anonymous email, and suddenly looked up at Hisu. He wasn't looking at me, but his fingers slid quickly across the phone screen. I walked over. Hisu stepped back warily. What are you doing? I reached out my hand. Cell phone. On what grounds? On the grounds that you just said no one should get the Xingyuan project. His expression completely changed. Jiang Tinglan also reacted, grabbing his wrist tightly. Was it you who sent the email? Hisu shook her off. Are you crazy? Why would I send that? Jiang Tinglan stared at him. Because once the financing stops, Jibai will panic, the company will be in chaos, and I'll have to help you stabilize the loan and the final payment first. A flicker of embarrassment flashed in Hisu's eyes. Before he could speak, his mother suddenly took out her phone from her bag and shouted sharply, if you keep pressuring my son, I'll call the police. I'll say you're blackmailing us, stealing phones, and ruining our home purchase. The security guard nearby has already noticed what's happening here. The staff also walked over. Everyone, this is the service hall, please do not disturb others. I nodded, sorry. Then I turned to the staff. I need to retrieve the surveillance footage and window records from when they processed their marriage registration today. This may involve the unauthorized use of electronic signatures, misappropriation of company funds, and loan fraud. The staff member's expression immediately turned serious. This requires police or court procedures. No, I picked up my phone and dialed my lawyer's number. Hisu finally panicked. Shenjibai, is it really necessary? I looked at him. It is necessary. His face turned pale. Jiang Tinglan took a step forward, her voice hoarse and strained. Jibai, don't call the police here. Give me some time. I'll withdraw the certificate, get the money back, and explain everything to the company. I looked at her. The certificate can't be withdrawn. She froze. What did you say? I said, marriage registration isn't something you can just call fake. If you want to end it, go through divorce. Tears instantly welled up in her eyes. I didn't look away. Jiang Tinglan, you're not just accompanying your childhood friend through the motions now. You are his wife. She took a step back, and the red booklet in her hand fell to the ground. The marriage certificate was spread open, and in the photo she and Hisu were sitting side by side. The red background was very bright, so bright it was blinding. Just then, Hisu's phone suddenly rang. The caller ID popped up. Manager Wang, real estate sales. He frantically hung up, but the next second, a text message appeared on the screen. Mr. He, if Ms. Jiang is unable to attend and sign the joint repayment commitment, the backup plan prepared by your mother can also be activated. Use Ms. Jiang's company's accounts receivable as collateral to provide advance funding first. Jiang Tinglan lowered her head and saw that line of text. She slowly raised her eyes, her voice so soft it felt cold. Backup plan. For Hisu's expression completely changed at that moment. His first reaction was not to explain, but to turn off the phone screen. That action was faster than any excuse. Jiang Tinglan looked at his hand as if meeting him for the first time. What does it mean to pledge my company's accounts receivable? Hisu gritted his teeth. The sales manager sent it by mistake. I reached out and took the commitment letter from Jiang Tinglan, flipping to the last page. Sure enough, there was an item listed in the attachment inventory, proof materials for business operating cash flow and accounts receivable. After the proof material number, it read, Launcher Technology Xing Yuan Project Phase 1 Payment Receipt Amount, 4,200,000. I placed that page in front of Jiang Tinglan. This is not a random distribution. She stared at that line of text, her gaze growing colder inch by inch. The first phase payment for the Xing Yuan project has not yet been received. That is the lifeline for the company over the next 3 months. Salaries, server renewals, supplier payments, and the pre-financing audit all depend on this payment. Hisu is not trying to borrow 860,000 yuan. He had set his sights on the entire account receivable. Seeing that she could no longer hide it, Mrs., he simply dropped the pretense. Tinglan, we really had no choice. After Xiaoshu's startup failed, his credit record went bad, and the bank refused to approve the loan. Your company's cash flow is good, so just bridge it for now. Once the house goes through, everything will be fine. Jiang Tinglan's voice was very low. When did you start preparing this backup plan? His mother said nothing. Hisu turned his face away. Jiang Tinglan stepped forward. I ask you, since when? Hisu was pushed to the brink. Do you really have to interrogate me here? I did all this because you kept hesitating. You say you'll help me, but when it really matters, you're always second-guessing. You've been with Shinjibai for years, and you've learned to scheme just like him. Jiang Tinglan felt as if he had been slapped. Am I scheming? Aren't you? Hisu pointed at her. You clearly know I'm short of money, know my family is counting on this house to turn things around, yet every time you have to ask whether Jibai will mind, whether the company will be affected, you care about him so much. Why did you still come here with me to get the marriage certificate? Today, this sentence pinned her in place. The hall was filled with the clamor of voices, yet I distinctly heard her breath catch for a moment. Hisu seized the moment to lower his voice. Tinglan, don't forget, it was you who said that once the certificate is issued, many things will be easier to handle. Now that the certificate has been issued, do you want to go back on your word? Jiang Tinglan's lips were pale. I looked at her. This time, I didn't answer for her. She had to hear it clearly. Herself, her so-called kindness, her so-called loyalty, her so-called helplessness, all of it eventually became leverage in someone else's hands. My phone rang. Xiaochen called, his voice trembling with urgency. Mr. Shen, 2 suppliers just came to the company, saying the payment from last month has been delayed for too long and they need an answer today. Also, Mr. Jiang previously signed a batch of outsourcing acceptance forms, and all the payees are people from Shuheng. I asked, how much is the total? Altogether, 670,000. Jiang Tinglan turned to look at me sharply. Xiaochen was still saying on the phone, the most troublesome part is that a receivables confirmation letter stamped with the business seal was scanned and sent out this morning. The recipient is a guarantee company in Chengnan. Guarantee company. Mother, his backup plan finally took complete shape. I turned on the speakerphone. Who sent the confirmation letter? The sound of typing came from Xiaochen's side. The system log shows that it was logged in using General Manager Zhang's account, but the login IP isn't from the company, it's near the Civil Affairs Bureau. I looked up at Hisu. All the color had drained from his face. Jiang Tinglan snatched the phone away. Xiaochen, withdraw that confirmation letter. Xiaochen's voice was on the verge of tears. Mr. Jiang, the email has already been signed for by the other party, and their receipt states that you must personally go to sign the paper original by 2 p.m. Jiang Tinglan's fingers trembled so much she could barely hold her phone. I didn't send it. The other end of the phone fell silent. Xiaochen whispered, but the account is yours. This sentence is as light as a knife. Jiang Tinglan slowly put down her phone. Mother, he still wanted to argue. It's just the guarantee company reviewing the documents, not an immediate mortgage. I watched her with a cold gaze. You're quite familiar with the process. Mother, his mouth twitched. I asked, when Hisu's last startup failed, did he also cross the bridge like this? Hisu suddenly shouted, shut up. This shout drew the attention of both the staff and the security guards. Jiang Tinglan, however, was not intimidated. She looked at Hisu. How much did you owe after your last business failed? Hisu's temple veins bulged. It's none of your business. Now it is my business. She held up the marriage certificate. I'm your legal wife. I have the right to know how much you owe. Mother He's expression changed, and she finally let it slip. The money Xiao Su owes was all lost in business, not spent recklessly. Besides, premarital debt has nothing to do with you. As long as you help him buy this apartment, we'll pay it back slowly. Jiang Tinglan seized the key point. Still, she took a step closer to Hisu. How much exactly do you owe? Hisu remained silent. My phone received a reply from the lawyer. Records of Suhang Consulting and Hisu's personal litigation involvement have been found. There are 3 cases of private lending, 1 enforcement record, and a high consumption restriction application pending review. Relevant materials have been packaged. I handed the phone to Jiang Tinglan. After reading the first line, Her face had already turned pale to the point of transparency. Hisu owed more than just the mortgage, he also had a personal loan of 2.8 million under his name, and the creditor had already applied for enforcement if his marital relationship with Jiang Tinglan was confirmed, and her company's cash flow was used to package their joint repayment ability. Banks, guarantee companies, and creditors would all come after her through this connection. This isn't helping, it's dragging her down with us. Jiang Tinglan looked at Hisu, and tears finally fell. You already knew. Hisu was silent for 2 seconds, then suddenly laughed. So what if you know? He stopped pretending. The hall fell silent all at once. Mrs. He hurriedly pulled him back. Xiao Su. Hisu shook her off, staring at Jiang Tinglan. If I didn't do this, would you really help me? You always say you'll help, but in the end, you always go back to Shinjibai. You promised me you wouldn't abandon me. Jiang Tinglan's voice trembled. So you tricked me into getting the marriage certificate. Tricked? His eyes were red. Jiang Tinglan, how dare you claim you don't know what getting a marriage license means? You just think I'm still the same person waiting for your charity. You think if you say it's fake, I have to play along with your game? He pointed at me. He has a company, funding, clients. You think of him first in everything. And me, I've been by your side since we were kids. When I was at my lowest, you said, I'll help you, but in the end, I still have to watch his mood. Listening to this, I suddenly felt it was absurd. He is not unaware that he is harming others, he just feels that he should also get a share. Jiang Tinglan stood there. The edges of the marriage certificate in her hand crumpled with creases. She finally stopped looking at me. Instead, she took out her phone and dialed the number of the sales manager, Mr. Wang. When the call connected, she put it on speakerphone. Manager Wang, I will not sign the joint repayment commitment, nor will I go to the guarantor company to complete any accounts receivable pledge documents. I am applying to invalidate all materials issued in my name this morning. Manager Wang was clearly panicked on the other end. Ms. Jiang, could you please communicate with Mr. We've already submitted all the materials, and withdrawing them now will affect Mr. He's eligibility to purchase the property. Jiang Tinglan looked at Hisu. Let it be affected. Hisu's expression changed abruptly. Jiang Tinglan. She ignored him. On the other end of the phone, Manager Wang lowered his voice. But Mr. He's mother has already paid the deposit. If the final payment isn't made, the deposit won't be refunded. His mother screamed. We can't not withdraw it. That's my retirement money. Jiang Tinglan hung up the phone. His mother lunged forward to grab her. You owe me my deposit. You already got the certificate with my son, and now you want to run? No way. The security guard immediately stopped her. The scene finally descended completely into chaos. The staff escorted them out. Himu cried and shouted. Hisu wore a dark expression, and Jiang Tinglan stood in the center of the hall, his eyes frighteningly red. I turned and walked out. Jiang Tinglan came chasing after me. The sunlight at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau was very bright. She stood on the steps, still clutching that red booklet in her hand. Jibai. I stopped, but did not turn around. Her voice was hoarse, as if it had been rubbed raw with sandpaper. At the company, I'll help you make up for it, for all the documents Hisu tampered with. I'll prove that you didn't authorize it, I said. Prove first that it wasn't authorized by you. She froze. I turned back to look at her. Xing Yuan's commitment letter, supplemental agreement, outsourcing acceptance form, and guarantee confirmation letter, all your account, your signature, your authorization. Her face gradually turned ashen. You don't believe me. I used to. As soon as those 3 words fell, tears instantly dropped from her eyes. But my phone rang again. A message came from the financing advisor. The investor will arrive at Launcher Technology at 3 p.m. this afternoon and requires Jiang Tinglan and Shin Jibai to be present at the same time to explain the related party transaction. Otherwise, this round of investment will be suspended. I looked at that message. Before I could reply, an unfamiliar number called. I answered. The voice on the other end was very polite. Hello, may I speak to Mr. Shin Jibai? This is Chengnan Henghue Guarantee. The materials for Ms. Jiang Tinglan's accounts receivable pledge from Launcher Technology have entered the preliminary review stage. We need to confirm whether you, as the company's actual controller, are aware of this. I looked up. Jiang Tinglan stood on the steps, her face pale and devoid of any color. The voice on the phone continued. Additionally, Mr. Hisu has just submitted a supplementary shareholder authorization letter with your electronic signature. 5. I held the phone, not speaking immediately. Jiang Tinglan looked at my face, as if already guessing that something else had gone wrong. What's wrong? I turned on the speakerphone. Say that again. The staff member from the guarantee company on the other end of the line paused. Mr. Hisu later submitted a shareholder authorization letter, which shows that you agreed to use the accounts receivable from the first phase of the Launcher Technology Xingyuan project as collateral to provide a short-term advance guarantee for Mr. Hisu's remaining house purchase payment. Jiang Tinglan's face instantly turned deathly pale. That's impossible, I asked. The signing time, at 10:29 this morning. 10:29, at the time, I was in the Civil Affairs Bureau lobby, changing the company account permissions. Hisu stood in front of me, smiling as he said I shouldn't be so petty, so he had already handed over my name with his other hand. I asked, what's the signing method? Electronic signature, confirmed with a mobile verification code. My phone had never received a verification code. Then there was only one possibility: my account had been given authorized forwarding, or Jiang Tinglan's admin privileges could send messages on my behalf. I looked at her, she held her breath. I didn't. Before I could speak, Hisu rushed out from the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. What shareholder authorization letter? Don't pin everything on me. He spoke in a hurry, sweat beading on his forehead. Mrs. He followed behind, her tear-streaked makeup still clinging to her face. Shenjibai, don't bully others. My son just wanted to buy a house properly, and all of you are trying to ruin him. Can't you stand to see him live a good life? I hung up the phone, then opened the email. The Guarantee Company quickly synchronized the materials. The first page of the authorization letter is headed by Launcher Technology. The second page lists the account's receivable information. Page 3 is for the shareholder's signature. My name is neatly pasted there. Shenjibai. The handwriting even mimics the cursive style I usually use when signing contracts. There's just one place that's wrong: when I write the character T. The last stroke on the right side curves outward. This signature was collected very tightly, as if it were traced. I handed the phone to Jiang Tinglan. Her expression changed after just one glance. This was taken from the main contract of Xingyuan. I looked at her. How do you know? Her throat tightened. Because the scanned copy of the main contract is on my computer, Hisu immediately said. I can't access anything on your computer. Jiang Tinglan suddenly looked at him. You used my computer this morning. Hisu let out a cold laugh. You asked me to help you transfer the files, and now that something's gone wrong, you're blaming me for everything. The last trace of warmth in Jiang Tinglan's eyes finally faded. She took out her phone and dialed the company's front desk. Asu, go to my office and see if my computer is still there. The person on the other end of the line ran in a hurry. A few seconds later, the trembling voice of the receptionist came through. President Jiang, the door to your office is open, and the computer is not on the desk. Jiang Tinglan closed his eyes. Hisu's expression changed slightly. I look at the bag in his hand. It's a black business bag. He has been carrying it since we left the Civil Affairs Bureau. Hisu notices my gaze and immediately steps back. What are you looking at me for? I take a step forward, open the bag. He sneers. What do you think you are? Jiang Tinglan suddenly walked over and reached out to grab his bag. Hisu pushed her away forcefully. Wearing high heels, she stumbled and crashed into the railing of the steps. I reached out to steady her. Her wrist was ice cold. The next second, Hisu turned and ran. He ran off too abruptly. His mother was taken aback for a moment before calling out, Xiao Su. Everyone at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau was startled. I let go of Jiang Tinglan and chased after him. Hisu ran toward the parking lot. He was running while pulling something out of his bag, as if about to throw it into a roadside trash can. I was still a few steps away from him when someone suddenly rushed out from the entrance of the parking lot and directly blocked his path. It was Zhou Ming, the company's client manager. He wrapped his arms around Hisu's waist, and the two of them fell down by the driveway. The black business bag was flung out, and its zipper came open. A silver laptop rolled out from inside. A property tag from Launcher Technology was stuck on the corner of the laptop. Jiang Tinglan chased after him to the parking lot and froze completely when he saw the computer. Zhou Ming struggled to his feet, breathing heavily. Mr. Shen, I rushed over from the company as soon as I got your message. I saw him running out just as I reached the entrance. Hisu was still struggling on the ground. You're robbing me. I'm calling the police. I crouched down and picked up the computer. The screen hadn't locked yet. The browser was open on the desktop. In the history log, the latest entry is the Hanghui Guarantee Material Upload page. The one before that is the Electronic Signature Platform. The one before that is the Launcher Technology Contract Archive. Jiang Tinglan stood beside me, her lips trembling for a long time, unable to utter a complete sentence. Hisu suddenly stopped struggling. He raised his head, his eyes filled with venom. So what if I took it? Jiang Tinglan's account was always automatically logged in on the computer. She didn't even bother to secure it herself. If she really cared so much about your company, how could she have let me know her password? Jiang Tinglan's face turned pale. Hisu kept smiling. Shenjibai, don't pretend you're the winner either. Your company is having problems now. Funding has stopped, clients have stopped, suppliers are blocking the door. Do you think you can walk away unscathed? I looked at him. At least I'm not married. As these words fell, Hisu's face turned as ugly as if he had been slapped. Jiang Tinglan's shoulders also trembled. His mother rushed over to snatch the computer but was stopped by Zhou Ming. You can't take it. This is evidence for my son, Zhou Ming couldn't hold back. Auntie, your son's evidence was stolen. His mother slumped to the ground and began to cry. There's no justice, the rich are bullying us, a widow and her orphan son. My son just wants to buy a house to get married. Why is it so hard? Someone nearby was filming with their phone. The security guard from the Civil Affairs Bureau quickly came over to maintain order. I ignored his mother. I closed the laptop and handed it to Zhou Ming. Take it to the company and hand it over to the legal and technical departments for evidence collection, record the entire process on video, and don't let it out of your sight. Zhou Ming nodded. Understood. Jiang Tinglan finally spoke up. I'll go back to the company with you. I glanced at her. No need. Her eyes were extremely red. Jibai, the company is my responsibility too, so the place you should be going is not the company. She froze. I looked at the marriage certificate in her hand. You handle your marriage first. This sentence carries no double meaning, yet Jiang Tinglan seemed to be weighed down. Unable to stand steadily, Hisu, watched by the security guards, suddenly burst into laughter. How to handle it, Jiang Tinglan, don't forget, we are legally married. What does it mean for you to leave with him now? Jiang Tinglan turned to look at him. The earlier breakdown was no longer in her eyes, only coldness remained. Count me blind. The smile on Hisu's face froze. She walked up to him and said word by word, I'll have my lawyer send you the divorce papers. Hisu let out a cold laugh. You think I'll sign? Jiang Tinglan didn't speak. I took over her words. It's fine if you don't sign. Hisu looked at me. I opened my phone and sent all the materials I had just gathered to the lawyer, impersonating electronic signatures, stealing company computers, forging authorization documents, suspected of fraudulently obtaining guarantees. That should keep you busy for a while, Mrs. He's crying abruptly. Stopped. Hisu's lips moved slightly. Who are you trying to scare? You can give it a try. I turned to leave. Jiang Tinglan chased after me. Daybreak. I stop. She clutches the marriage certificate, her knuckles turning white. The investors are arriving at the company at 3 this afternoon. I have to be there. I know you don't want to see me right now, but I can't let launcher be ruined by Hisu. I looked at her. There was guilt in her eyes, panic too, and at last a bit of true clarity as she faced the consequences, but that clarity came too late. I said, you can come. A glimmer of light had just sparked in her eyes. I added another sentence, as the subject of the investigation. That glimmer of light went out. The area downstairs from the company was more chaotic than I had imagined. When I arrived, 2 supplier representatives were blocking the front desk, with several employees standing nearby and not daring to speak. Xiao Chen's eyes were red as he ran over, clutching a stack of payment slips. Mr. Shen, we found it. Over the past 6 months, out of the 12 expenses approved under Mr. Zhang's authority, 7 were eventually transferred to accounts linked to Hisu. I took the documents. What about Xingyuan? The legal department said they will send someone over this afternoon. They want to see our internal handling results. I nodded. As soon as I entered the meeting room, the technical lead, Lao Liang, pushed the computer in front of me. Mr. Shen, the preliminary results of the computer forensics for Mr. Jiang are out. She inserted a USB drive late last night and copied 3 types of files: the contract database, financial transaction records, and financing materials. I flipped to the copy log. The timestamps were densely packed, from 10:20 last night to 9:23 this morning. In other words, before Jiang Tinglan accompanied him to register their marriage, he had already taken away everything Lanchi technology could leverage. Zhou Ming cursed under his breath. This bastard clearly didn't come up with it on the spur of the moment. Xiaochen handed over another document, and last month, General Manager Jiang signed an authorization allowing Hisu to join the Xingyuan Project Team Communication Group as a business consultant. She didn't inform us. As I looked at the authorization, a detail suddenly came to mind. 2 months ago, there was a last-minute change to a technical review meeting at Xingyuan. I asked Jiang Tinglan who had notified us. She said it was the client assistant. Looking back now, starting from that day, Hisu was already in the client chain. This connection was earlier than I had thought. The conference room door was pushed open. Jiang Tinglan had arrived. She had changed out of her white shirt, wore no makeup on her face, and held a file folder in her hand. All the employees looked at her. Before, whenever she entered the meeting room, everyone would call her Director Jiang. This time, no one spoke. The form of address changed first. The positioning also changed. She stood at the doorway and, for the first time, did not sit in the seat next to me. Instead, she placed the file folder at the other end of the conference table. These are all the login records for my phone, email, and e-signature platform. I've already authorized the IT department to retrieve them. Her voice was hoarse. In addition, I will suspend all my corporate positions and cooperate with the investigation. Xiaochen lowered his head and remained silent. Old Liang's expression was also grim. Jiang Tinglan looked at me. I know you don't need me to apologize, but before the investors and Xingyuan arrive this afternoon, I can list everyone Hisu has been in contact with. Before I could answer, the front desk knocked and came in. Mr. Shen, the Shengyuan people have arrived early. I glanced at the time, 2:20, 40 minutes earlier than scheduled. Everyone in the meeting room tensed up. The receptionist added another sentence. Not just Shengyuan Legal has arrived. She handed me the business card. It read, Vice President of Shengyuan Group, Su Duo. This was the decision-maker we had been unable to meet before. I had just taken the business card when footsteps echoed from the elevator entrance. Su Duo walked in with two others, followed by a uniformed staff member. They weren't police officers, they were from the Court Enforcement Bureau. Su Duo stood at the entrance of the conference room, his gaze sweeping over me, then over Jiang Tinglan. In the end, he placed a document on the table. President Shen, MS, Jiang, before we came over, we received a court notice of assistance in enforcement. He opened the document. Hisu's debtor applied to freeze the executable property clues under his spouse's name, which includes MS, Jiang Tinglan's equity returns in Lonstone Technology. Jiang Tinglan's face instantly turned ashen. Su Duo's voice continued. So before your company provides a clear explanation, we cannot release the first phase payment for the Shengyuan project. 6. After those words fell in the conference room, no one spoke immediately. The first phase payment for the Shengyuan project cannot be made. This is not a statement of attitude. This is Launcher Technologies' cash flow being choked on the spot. A payment slip slipped from Xiao Chen's hand and fell to the ground. She bent down to pick it up, her fingers trembling. Lao Liang stood by the whiteboard, his face ashen. Jiang Tinglan seemed nailed to the spot by that enforcement assistance notice, her eyes scanning the document header over and over, then landing on her own name, spouse, equity income, executable property leads. A few words placed together weighed heavier than the marriage certificate in her hand. Su Duo did not sit down. He pushed the documents half an inch toward me. President Shen, we understand that your company may also be a victim right now, but as the paying party, Shengyuan cannot make the payment when the ownership and debt relationships are unclear. I nodded. I understand. Jiang Tinglan suddenly looked up. President Su, this payment belongs to Launcher Technology, not to me personally, and certainly not to Hisu. Su Duo looked at her. MS, Jiang, legally speaking, we cannot rely solely on verbal judgments, especially now. There are several documents indicating that there are project profit-sharing arrangements, channel commitments, joint repayment agreements, and intentions for accounts receivable pledges between you personally and Shuhang Consulting. Her face turned frighteningly pale. Those documents do not reflect my true intentions. That's why we're here. Su Duo's tone was steady, yet he showed no sign of yielding. Shengyuan requires your company to provide a formal written explanation, the internal authorization chain, proof of electronic signature anomalies, and the handling results for the relevant responsible parties. Jiang Tinglan's lips moved slightly. She used to be the best at negotiations. No matter how difficult the client is, she can find their soft spot within 3 sentences, but at this moment, she can't even give a complete assurance, because all the problems revolve around her, her account, her signature, her marriage certificate. Every door she opened for Hisu has now turned into a row of gun barrels aimed at the company. I picked up the assistance enforcement notice and asked the staff member standing behind Su Duo, is this notice only targeting Jiang Tinglan's personal equity income, or has the company account already been frozen? The other party glanced at me. Currently, it's just assisting with inquiries and preserving evidence. The company's basic account hasn't been frozen yet. However, the creditor has submitted supplementary materials stating that Mr. Hisu and MS, Jiang Tinglan may have transferred executable assets through the company's accounts receivable after their marriage. I looked at Jiang Tinglan. The last trace of color drained from her eyes. After marriage, her voice was so faint it was almost inaudible. We just got our marriage certificate this morning. The staff member turned a page of the documents. In the materials submitted by the creditor, there is a copy of your marriage registration information from this morning. Jiang Tinglan suddenly looked up. How could they have that? I didn't speak. The answer was already laid out in the conference room. Hisu. No one else would have delivered the marriage certificate to the creditor so quickly. He was not forced into a corner by creditors. He deliberately pushed Jiang Tinglan in front of the creditors, making everyone work together to pressure her into paying. Jiang Tinglan's hand braced against the edge of the conference table, her knuckles turning white. I asked the staff member, what was the submission time? The other party glanced at the system. 11:48 a.m., not long after the farce at the Civil Affairs Bureau ended, when Hisu was stopped by us in the parking lot and the copy of Jiang Tinglan's marriage certificate fell out of his bag. He still had time to send out the photocopy. He had been walking two paths all along. One was to pressure the company into releasing the funds, the other was to pressure Jiang Tinglan into covering the debt. Jiang Tinglan seemed to have thought of this as well. She suddenly picked up her phone and dialed Hisu. It rang twice, then was hung up. She dialed again. The other party had turned off the phone directly. The voice of the receptionist came from the doorway of the meeting room. Mr. Shen, a few more people have arrived downstairs, claiming to be Hisu's creditors. The security guards are holding them back. Su Duo frowned. Jiang Tinglan swayed slightly. I said to the receptionist, tell security not to let anyone come up, and call the police to file a report. The receptionist nodded and ran out. The next second, a commotion erupted downstairs. The office was on the 19th floor, so normally, sounds from the lobby on the first floor couldn't be heard, but this time, the voice came from the landline at the company's front desk. Someone was shouting, Jiang Tinglan, don't even think about dodging the debt your husband owes. Your company has money but is pretending to be dead. You just got married this morning, and now you want to cut ties this afternoon. The employee area exploded. Someone ran to the glass wall and looked down. Xiao Chen's eyes were red with anxiety. General Manager Shen, if this continues, other clients will find out. Already aware, I saw Zhou Ming's phone screen lit up. In the industry client group, someone shared a short video. The video was filmed at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. Himu sat on the ground crying. In the shot, Jiang Tinglan held the marriage certificate. I stood beside her, and Hisu was restrained by security. The caption was written in a very vulgar manner. Startup CEO steals someone else's wife. Company funds suspected of being embezzled. Some people below were already asking if launcher technology was us. People from Xingyuan also saw it. Su Duo's expression darkened further. I took Zhou Ming's phone and glanced at the account that had posted it. A new account. The avatar is blank, sent at 12:17. I handed the phone to old Liang, traced the source and preserved the webpage evidence. Lao Liang immediately nodded. I'll go. Jiang Tinglan suddenly spoke up. It wasn't Hisu who sent it. Everyone looked at her. She lowered her head to look at the video. This angle is from the steps on the right side of the Civil Affairs Bureau entrance. Hisu was being held back by you at the time, and his phone almost fell. He didn't have time to film. I watched the shaky footage in the video. She is right. From that angle, you could capture Mrs. He sitting on the ground and Hisu being restrained, but not the person filming. Mrs. He, or someone brought by Mrs. He. This family isn't acting on a sudden whim. They have a backup plan for every step. Jiang Tinglan returned the phone to Zhou Ming. Then she looked up at Su Duo. Mr. Su, I will cooperate with your company's legal department in the investigation. I now formally declare that all documents issued this morning in my personal name or in the company's name, involving Hisu, Shuhang Consulting, and Henghui Guarantee, were either not my true intention or were issued with authorization flaws. Su Duo looked at her. Ms. Jiang, a statement is not enough. I know. She picked up the pen from the conference table. I can sign the suspension and cooperation with investigation documents now, or I can authorize the company to submit evidence to the public security authorities that my account was hacked and my signature was forged. She paused, her fingers tightening. At the same time, I will submit relevant materials to the court regarding the fraudulent purpose of the marriage registration. Hearing the last sentence, everyone in the meeting room fell silent. She had finally taken it this far. No longer a fake marriage certificate, no longer just a favor, it is fraud. Su Duo's gaze shifted slightly. He turned to me. Mr. Shen, if your company can provide preliminary evidence materials today, Xingyuan can temporarily refrain from terminating the project, but payment must wait until the legal risks are resolved. This is already the best possible result. I nodded. Okay. Su Duo sat down. Then let's go through them one by one now. The conference room door closed. For the next 2 hours, everyone seemed as if they had been crammed into a machine. Old Liang pulled up the system logs. Xiaochen reviewed the payment details. Zhou Ming supplemented the Xingyuan communication records. The legal counsel went online remotely, stitching together each e-signature, every approval, and every abnormal login IP into a timeline. Jiang Tinglan sat in the farthest seat. She didn't explain a single word about her feelings. She just handed her phone to the technical department, changed the email password, handed over the electronic signature platform permissions. With every move made, the atmosphere in the meeting room grew a little colder. She once sat to my right, pounding the table with me to finalize plans. Now she sits across from everyone, like a risk point that must be scrutinized. At 6 in the evening, the first preliminary investigation report was printed out. Liang placed the report on the desk. Mr. Shen, it's confirmed. Hisu used Mr. Zhang's computer to copy the data last night and initiated the shareholder authorization process through Mr. Zhang's account at 10:29 this morning. However, Mr. Shen's electronic Signature was not confirmed via a verification code. I looked up. How was it signed then? Liang pointed at the log. Historical signature templates were invoked. Jiang Tinglan suddenly looked up. Only administrators can invoke signature templates. Liang remained silent, all eyes were on her, her face paled for a moment, and she quickly picked up her phone. Last year, I granted Hisu temporary visitor access to help me organize supplier documents. I asked, why has the temporary access been retained until now? Her lips trembled. I forgot to turn it off. Those words were more piercing than any apology. Forgot to turn it off. What she forgot to turn off wasn't just a permission, it was the company's contract database, it was my electronic signature, it is the very lifeline of all launcher technology. Xiaochen couldn't hold back anymore. Mr. Jiang, how could you forget? Jiang Tinglan looked at her, his eyes were intensely red, but he gave no rebuttal. Sorry. Xiaochen's tears suddenly fell. We're not asking you to apologize. Last month's wages were paid 3 days late, and everyone said the company was going through a rough patch, so we should just endure it and it would pass. But if all this money is going to Hisu's side, then what does that make us? No one stopped her. She asked the question everyone wanted to ask. Jiang Tinglan's hands were under the table, her nails digging into her palms. I'll pay for it. What will you use to pay for it? Xiaochen's voice trembled. The Sheng Yuan payment isn't coming through, the company's cash can only last 20 more days, financing is on hold, suppliers are blocking the door, and the client group is flooded with videos. You say you'll compensate. How exactly will you do that? Jiang Tinglan was left speechless by the question. I closed the report. Xiaochen, go prioritize the payroll and supplier payments. Xiaochen wiped her eyes. Okay. When she stood up, she didn't call out to manager Jiang again. Jiang Tinglan heard it. I heard it too. The door was knocked. The receptionist pushed the door open and came in, her face looking even worse than before. Mr. Shen, the people downstairs refuse to leave. I frowned. Has the police not arrived yet? They have, but they brought something, saying they're not here to cause trouble, they're here to deliver a document. The receptionist handed me the document folder. A courier slip was attached to the craft paper bag. The recipient, Launcher Technology, the sender, Hisu. I open it. Inside is a lawyer's letter. Hisu demands that Launchip Technology immediately restore Shuhang Consulting's status as the channel partner for the Xingyuan project and pay the channel service fees already incurred, otherwise, he will publicly expose the company's internal profit distribution scandal. As Jiang Tinglan's spouse and business partner, at the very bottom of the lawyer's letter, a photograph was attached. In the photo, Jiang Tinglan was sitting at the Civil Affairs Bureau counter, signing her name. Beside her, Hisu was smiling. On the back of the photo, a line of words was written in black ink. Listen to the waves, you're on the same boat as me now. Jiang Tinglan saw those words and froze completely. I picked up my phone and called the lawyer. There's no need to wait until tomorrow for the police report materials. I looked at that photo. Send it now. 7. By the time the lawyer arrived at the company, it was already completely dark. His surname is Meng, an external legal counsel who has been with Lonstone Tech since its first year of establishment. In the past, whenever he came to the company, he would always go to the pantry first to get a cup of coffee. This time, he didn't even take off his coat and directly spread the documents all over the conference table. The situation is more serious than what was discussed over the phone. Attorney Meng adjusted his glasses and laid out several documents in a row. He is not simply forging materials, his actions, when connected, are close to forming a complete chain of fund misappropriation. He spoke very steadily. With each sentence he uttered, Jiang Tinglan's face grew a shade paler. Step 1. Use the marital relationship to obtain Jiang Tinglan's personal credit endorsement. Step 2. Through Jiang Tinglan's account and permissions, embed Shuhang Consulting into the Sheng Yuan project chain. Step 3. Use Sheng Yuan's accounts receivable as collateral to apply for short-term financing from a guarantee company. Step 4. Once the financing reaches the He family or Shuhang account, subsequent debts and legal risks will follow Jiang Tinglan and Launcher Technology. Zhou Ming felt a chill run down his spine. So, he wasn't trying to borrow money, he wanted to plant a ticking time bomb in our accounts. Lawyer Meng nodded. What's even more troublesome is that he's now turning around and claiming the partnership was established. If we don't gather evidence in time, he'll paint himself as a channel partner who was used and then discarded by Lonstone Tech. Jiang Tinglan spoke hoarsely. I have the chat records. He told me it was just for home buying eligibility, never mentioned any of this. Attorney Meng glanced at her. Are you willing to submit all the chat records? She gripped her phone tightly. Willing, including your promise to help him connect with Sheng Yuan, involve him in data organization, and use your account to assist him in reviewing contracts. Jiang Tinglan's throat tightened. The meeting room fell silent. This was the hardest part. Hisu had indeed deceived her, but she had also given him an opening. Attorney Meng's tone held no reproach, only placing the pen before her. Ms. Jiang, you now have to choose whether to preserve your momentary dignity or to tell the full story. Jiang Tinglan stared at the pen. Half a minute later, she took the authorization letter and signed her name. With this stroke, the relationships in the conference room changed again. She was no longer the Jiang general manager who could make the final call. She became a link in the chain of evidence that had to be dismantled. Attorney Meng put away the authorization letter, now split into two tracks. He looked at me. On the company side, file a police report under the name of Lonstone Technology, accusing Hisu of allegedly stealing commercial information, forging authorization documents, and obtaining guarantees by fraud. Then he looked at Jiang Tinglan. On your side, submit evidence that the marriage was entered into through fraud and that the materials were signed and used without your authorization, apply to suspend the relevant debt dispute, and file a divorce lawsuit as soon as possible. Jiang Tinglan asked softly, can the marriage be annulled? Attorney Meng paused for a moment. It depends on the evidence. Registering the marriage solely for the purpose of obtaining a home purchase qualification does not automatically make it voidable, unless you can prove that from the very beginning, he deceived you with the intent of unlawful gain and shifting the debt. Jiang Tinglan's fingers tightened. I can prove it. She opened her phone and pulled up the chat record from last night with Hisu. Hisu had sent a voice message. She clicked it open. Hisu's voice came from the conference room. Tinglan, just help me one last time. The marriage certificate has been obtained, the house has been settled, and I'll clear my debts. After that, I'll do whatever you say. Don't worry, I won't affect you and Shinjibai. The voice was soft and low, a completely different person from the one who said, so what if you know? At the Civil Affairs Bureau today, Jiang Tinglan's eyes instantly reddened. She kept scrolling down through the chat logs. There was another one. My mom's side is about to collapse. If you don't come, I really don't know what I'll do. Threat, showing weakness, old feelings. She was pulled step by these ropes. Attorney Meng asked his assistant to export the records. I stood nearby, not looking at Jiang Tinglan. It wasn't that it didn't hurt, since things have already come to this point. Pain is useless. At 9:20, we took the materials to the police station. The creditors downstairs from the company still hadn't left. Several men were sitting on the sofa in the lobby. When they saw Jiang Tinglan come out, they immediately stood up. The bald man at the front pointed at her. Ms. Jiang, your husband owes us money. Don't pretend you don't know. Jiang Tinglan stopped in her tracks. How much does he owe you? The bald man took out a photocopy of the IOU, principal, 2.8 million, interest to be calculated separately, date of the loan, last November. At that time, I had no marital relationship with him. The bald man sneered. Now you do. Besides, he showed us your company projects and the cash flow under your name, saying you were about to get married and that the money would definitely be repaid. That's why we didn't push too hard. Jiang Tinglan looked at the promissory note, her voice turning cold. He has forged materials. The bald man froze for a moment. What do you mean? I took over the conversation. So you've been scammed too? The bald man looked at me. I handed over my business card. If you want money, go after the people who actually scammed you. Don't cause trouble at the company, or we'll call the police together. He held the business card, a bit hesitant. A young man behind him whispered, Bro, Hisu hasn't answered his phone since this afternoon. Jiang Tinglan heard this and suddenly asked, where is he now? No one answered. At that moment, the bald man's phone rang. He answered it, and his expression quickly changed. What? He went to the sales office. Jiang Tinglan suddenly looked up. Sales office. Hisu hasn't given up on that apartment yet. He's holding fake documents, probably still trying for one last push. Lawyer Meng made a decisive move. First, go to the police station to file a report, and at the same time, notify the sales office and the guarantee company to stop processing. I looked at Zhou Ming. You take old Liang to the sales office. Don't confront them directly. Gather evidence and wait for the police. Zhou Ming nodded and left immediately. Jiang Tinglan also wanted to follow. I stopped her. You go to the police station. She looked at me. He will run. If you chase after him now, you'll only be taken hostage by him. Her face turned pale. This was no exaggeration. Hisu had already treated her as proof of home buying eligibility, bank statements, a guarantor, and clues to his spouse's assets. There was nothing he dared not do. At the police station, the officer on duty listened to the entire account, and his expression grew increasingly serious. One document after another was handed over: computer forensics record, forged shareholder authorization letter, guarantee company materials, Shengyuan commitment letter, electronic signature log, on-site recording from the Civil Affairs Bureau, and that threatening lawyer's letter. The police officer asked Jiang Tinglan, are you willing to cooperate with the investigation and explain the complete process of your marriage registration with Hisu? Jiang Tinglan nodded, willingly. The police officer asked again, do you admit that you voluntarily granted certain company permissions to Hisu? She closed her eyes. I admit. The lights in the interrogation room were blindingly white. Sitting inside, She recounted step by step how she had trusted Hisu, how he had sweet-talked her into getting the marriage certificate, how she had handed over her computer and phone to him, and how she had believed she was just helping him secure a home. Purchase qualification, not a single word of unnecessary emotion, nor did I try to clear myself again. I sat on the bench outside, watching her profile through the glass window. 7 years ago, when she first told me she wanted to start a business, she was also sitting under this kind of white light. Back then, it was the interview room for the university's innovation and entrepreneurship competition. She slammed the proposal on the table and said, "Shinjibai, I don't want to work for others, I want to create something of my own." I believed her, so I supported her in doing it. Now, she sits under another white light, gradually revealing the people she personally brought into the company. The phone vibrates. Zhou Ming sent a video. In the sales office lobby, Hisu was arguing with a salesperson. In the video, he slammed a document onto the table. "Jiang Tinglan is my wife. Of course her company's financial records can be used. You accepted the deposit, and now you're saying you won't proceed." Sales manager Wang stood opposite, looking very displeased. Ms. Jiang has already stated over the phone that she does not approve of the relevant documents. Hisu sneered coldly. "It's just a couple's argument. She's being controlled by Shinjibai right now, and she'll come over in a bit." I showed the video to the police officer. The officer immediately contacted the local police station. Another 10 minutes passed, and Zhou Ming's call came in. "Mr. Shen, he's trying to run." There was a burst of chaos on the other end of the phone. Zhou Ming, breathing hard, said, "He just took a call." His face changed, and he grabbed his bag and headed for the back door. Old Liang followed him. I stood up. "Don't chase too close, wait for the police, it's too late already." Old Liang's voice came from the other end of the phone. "He's gone into the underground parking garage." Jiang Tinglan suddenly looked over from the interrogation room. The police officer also stood up. My phone vibrated again. This time, it was a photo sent by Old Liang. At the underground garage exit, Hisu got into a black car. There was also a woman sitting in the back seat. The woman was holding a file folder in her arms. The photo was a bit blurry. The corner of the file folder was exposed, stamped with the red seal of Hanghui Guarantee. Jiang Tinglan walked over to me, and upon seeing the photo clearly, his expression suddenly changed. "She is the business manager of Hanghui Guarantee." I asked, "Do you know her?" Her voice tightened. "Last night, Hisu showed me her social media posts, saying she could handle urgent bridge financing." As soon as the words were spoken, Lawyer Meng's assistant rushed in. "Mr. Shen, Hanghui has responded." He handed over the phone. "They said that 10 minutes ago, Hisu had already submitted the original paper document." At the top of the screen was a photo of a receipt. In the receipt's signature section, there was not only Hisu's signature, and there's Jiang Tinglan's name. Jiang Tinglan stared at the receipt, his face devoid of any color. "I didn't sign it." Her voice was soft, yet it seemed to be squeezed out from between her teeth. Attorney Meng immediately took the phone. "Zoom in on the photo." The assistant enlarged the signature field. The 3 characters, Jiang Tinglan, were written very similarly, even more similar than the signature on the previous joint repayment commitment letter. Every stroke adhered to her usual habits, even the small hook at the end of the character Lan. It was just too similar. A pause as if no living soul were there. Lawyer Meng only took one look. "This is a traced signature." Jiang Tinglan looked up. "Can it be proven?" "It needs to be authenticated, but for now let's first fix the source of the receipt." I turned to the police officer. "Can the license plate of this car be checked?" The police officer took the photo and went to contact the sales office's jurisdiction. Jiang Tinglan stood where she was when her phone suddenly rang. The caller ID showed Hisu. She looked at me. I started the recording. The call connected. It was very quiet on Hisu's end, as if he was sitting in a car. His voice actually didn't sound panicked anymore. "Tinglan, did you report the case?" Jiang Tinglan held the phone. "Where are you?" "None of your business where I am." He let out a soft laugh. "I didn't want things to come to this, but you forced my hand." Jiang Tinglan closed his eyes briefly. "Hisu, you forged my signature, used my company's documents as collateral, and even wanted me to take on your debts, and now you're saying I forced you. You were supposed to help me in the first place." Hisu's voice turned cold. "When we were kids, you said you wouldn't abandon me. Did you keep that promise? You started a company with Shinjibai, secured funding, met with clients, and climbed step by step, and me, I failed once, and everyone trampled on me. Your failure wasn't because others trampled on you." Jiang Tinglan's voice trembled, but she did not retreat. "You took the money yourself to plug the hole, and then deceived others into covering for you." The other end of the phone fell silent for 2 seconds. Hisu suddenly laughed. "You sound just like Shinjibai now." When he called my name, there was a gritted hatred in his voice. "Let him listen." I spoke up. "I'm here." Hisu smiled even more lightly. "That's perfect, Shinjibai. Aren't you good at investigating? Go ahead and find out what else I have in my Hands, I didn't say a word, he continued. The Xingyuan project hasn't been the clean project you thought it was for a long time. How many conditions did Jiang Tinglan promise privately to secure the client? You had no idea, did you? Jiang Tinglan suddenly raised his head. You're talking nonsense. I'm talking nonsense. Hisu's voice carried malice. Then do you dare hand over all your chat records with Xingyuan's purchasing assistant? Do you dare let the investors see how you agreed to kickbacks, and how you promised to let Xuhang into the project? The air outside the conference room felt as if it had been drained away. I looked at Jiang Tinglan. There was panic on her face, but not the kind of panic that comes from being exposed. It was the panic of suddenly realizing that an old matter had been maliciously twisted. She said to the phone, that was the client's request to add a service team. I said we could look for an external consultant for a quote, but it had to go through the company's procurement process? Who would believe that? Hisu's voice suddenly rose. Say whatever you want now, the evidence is in my hands, and I'll release it however I please. I asked him, what do you want? There was a brief silence on the other end of the phone. He finally revealed his true motive: restore the qualification of Xuhang Consulting Channel and transfer the 30% service fee for the Xingyuan project to me. Also, give me a withdrawal statement. Jiang Tinglan seemed to be laughing in anger. You still want money, otherwise. Hisu gritted his teeth. I have no way out now. You've made it impossible for me to buy a house, creditors are hounding me, and the guarantor wants to wash their hands of it. Jiang Tinglan, give me the money now, I'll take it and leave, and I can sign the divorce agreement. Her eyes were red, cold to the core. You treat marriage as a transaction. Weren't you the one who started the process? Those words hit hard, and Jiang Tinglan froze completely. I took the phone. Hisu, your current call is being recorded, he sneered. Record it. Don't you all love evidence? I glanced at the police officer. The other party has already indicated to continue stalling him. You just said that if money is given, you'll sign the divorce agreement, and that can also prove your purpose in getting the marriage certificate wasn't to live together as husband and wife. Hisu paused. Shinjibai, don't nitpick my wording. Also, you threatened to publicly release company information, demanding the restoration of channel qualifications and payment. I continued, this part is clear enough. The breathing on the other end of the phone grew heavier. He finally realized he had said too much. The next second, he hung up the phone. Jiang Tinglan stood there, slowly loosening her fingers. The police officer looked at us. We will incorporate the recording into the materials. Our colleagues on the other side have already gone to the sales office and Henghui Guarantee. Attorney Meng immediately said, we should also go to Henghui. Henghui Guarantee is located in the financial park in the southern part of the city. It takes about 40 minutes to get there from the police station. No one spoke in the car. Jiang Tinglan sat in the back seat, clutching the marriage certificate in her hand. The red cover was crumpled from her grip. As they neared the financial district, she suddenly spoke up. Shinjibai, I didn't turn around, she said, regarding that Xingyuan chat record. I didn't engage in any illegal rebates. She seemed surprised that I would respond. After a long pause, her voice grew even hoarser. Do you believe it? I watched the receding lights outside the car window. I believe the evidence. She said nothing else. Those 4 words were clear enough. Not that I believe her. Now everyone can only rely on evidence. The receptionist at Henghui Guarantee initially refused to let them in. Lawyer Meng showed his lawyer's certificate and explained that the police were already involved. After which the other party called out the business manager. The business manager's surname is Luo. The woman sitting in the back seat of Hisu's car in the photo was her. She was wearing a gray suit, with delicate makeup on her face, but when she saw Jiang Tinglan, a flicker clearly crossed her eyes. Lawyer Meng placed the receipt photo in front of her. Manager Luo, who submitted this material? Manager Luo quickly steadied himself. Did Jiang Tinglan show up in person? No. Then why is there Jiang Tinglan's signature? Manager Luo paused. He said Jiang was unable to attend and had authorized him to submit it on her behalf. Attorney Meng asked, where is the authorization document? Manager Luo did not take it immediately. I looked at her. Manager Luo, you left the sales office's underground garage in Hisu's car. There are photos. Her expression changed. I was just passing by. Jiang Tinglan spoke in a cold voice. Last night, through Hisu's Pengyochen, you added me on WeChat and said you could help arrange an expedited bridge loan, right? Manager Luo glanced at her. Jiang, you didn't object at the time either. Jiang Tinglan took out her phone. I didn't accept your friend request. Manager Luo's expression stiffened. She looked at the assistant beside her. The assistant kept his head down and dared not speak. Attorney Meng seized on this point. Please have your company immediately retrieve the business system login records, material receipt surveillance footage, and the approval nodes for the handling process. Otherwise, we will apply for the public security authorities to retrieve them in accordance with the law. Manager Luo's expression finally could not hold. She led us to a small conference room. A little over 10 minutes later, Heng Hui's risk control director also arrived. After reviewing the materials, the risk control director's expression immediately darkened. Luo Wan, since Ms. Jiang herself is not present, why did you accept the original documents? Manager Luo still wanted to explain. Mister, he said they are husband and wife, and all the signatures are in place. The risk control supervisor slammed the table. This is accounts receivable pledge, not receiving a package. The small meeting room was eerily quiet. Soon, the system records were retrieved. When Hisu submitted the paper original, Manager Luo was indeed present. In the surveillance footage, Hisu takes a document folder out of his bag. Manager Luo takes it, glances at the signature, and stamps it with the receipt seal. She doesn't even call Jiang Tinglan to verify. More importantly, there is a line in the approval remarks: the client's marital relationship is genuine, and the spouse's company has stable repayment, so expedited processing can be advanced. The spouse's company. Jiang Tinglan looked at that line of text and finally placed the marriage certificate in her hand on the table. She acted as if she had touched something filthy. The risk control officer immediately stated their position. This transaction is suspended. All collected materials are to be sealed and stored to cooperate with the investigation. Attorney Meng requested copies of the receipt and surveillance footage for retention. The risk control officer agreed promptly. Manager Luo suddenly spoke up. But Mr., he said that if this deal couldn't be completed, he would send the materials to the creditors and the media, saying that Ms. Jiang transferred assets during the marriage. We were also afraid the matter would blow up. Jiang Tinglan looked up. What else did he say? Manager Luo bit her lip. He said Ms. Jiang would definitely admit it, because the company was built by her and Mr. Shen together. She wouldn't just stand by and watch the company get into trouble. It was that same line again. Everyone was betting that she would admit it. Bet she can't bear to part with the company. Bet I'll cover the bottom line. Bet that employees, clients, and financing will all pressure her into submission. I looked at the risk control manager. Please include Manager Luo's statement in the situation report as well. Manager Luo's face turned deathly pale. Just then, Lawyer Meng's phone rang. After answering the call, his expression turned serious. Mr. Shen, something has happened at the sales office. I stood up. Hisu, no. Attorney Meng looked at Jiang Tinglan. Mrs. He took the creditors to your parents' house. Jiang Tinglan suddenly stood up. My parents' house. Attorney Meng nodded. She was holding a copy of your marriage certificate, saying that Hisu is the son-in-law of the Jiang family, and she wants your parents to step in and repay the debt on your behalf. Jiang Tinglan's body swayed slightly. I reached out to steady myself against the corner of the table but did not reach out to support her. She quickly steadied herself. This time, she didn't cry. She picked up her phone directly and dialed her father. The phone rang for a long time before it was answered. A middle-aged man's voice came through the phone, barely suppressing his anger. Jiang Tinglan, come back immediately. Jiang Tinglan closed her eyes. Dad, don't believe anything Hisu says. I'm on my way. A cold laugh came from the other end of the phone. Don't believe it. They brought the marriage certificate, debt documents, and the joint repayment agreement you signed. Your mother was so angry she felt unwell. Jiang Tinglan tightened her grip on the phone. That's forged. Father Jiang's voice suddenly rose. Was your marriage certificate also forged? The words landed like a slap. Jiang Tinglan's face went pale for a moment. I could hear, faintly, Mrs. He's crying and shouting from the other end of the phone. In-laws, you can't just ignore this. My son owes so much money because of Tinglan, and now she's teaming up with that man outside to send Xiaoxiu in. Father Jiang asked angrily, is that man outside Shenjibai? Jiang Tinglan suddenly looked at me. On the other end of the phone came he moves even sharper, crying, it's him. He forced your daughter to divorce Xiaoxiu, and he even wants to swallow up your daughter's company. 9. When the words, he forced your daughter to divorce Xiaoxiu and even wants to swallow up your daughter's company, came through the phone, Jiang Tinglan's face darkened completely. She didn't explain any further to her father. She only said, Dad, don't open the door and let them into the bedroom. And don't sign anything. I'm coming back now. Jiang's father let out a cold laugh on the other end of the phone. You still know how to come back. We found out about something as big as getting your marriage certificate from other people's mouths. Jiang Tinglan tightened her grip on the phone. I was wrong. There was a brief silence on the other end of the phone. She went on, but of all the debt documents, joint repayment documents, and company guarantee documents the He family brought over, the vast majority were forged or fraudulently used under someone else's identity. I've already filed a police report, and the police are investigating. Jiang's father's voice was tight with anger. You filed a report. First tell me this. Did you get the marriage certificate yourself using your ID card? Jiang Tinglan opened his mouth. He could not answer. This was the cruelest part. Everything else could be said to be forged, only that marriage certificate was signed by her own hand. Mother, he began crying again on the other end of the phone. Son-in-law? Did you hear that? She herself doesn't even dare say there wasn't one. Xiaoxiu is now being forced by her and that guy surnamed Shen to the point where he can't even come home. We, this orphan mother and child, can't go on living, Father Jiang said angrily. Come back right now. The phone hung up. Jiang Tinglan stood at the entrance of Henghui Guarantee, feeling as if the wind had emptied her out for a moment. Lawyer Meng put away the documents. Let's go, if creditors have already started showing up at your parents' home. We can't delay, Jiang Tinglan whispered. My mother has a heart condition. She said this to me. I glanced at her. Then let's not waste time on the road. Her eyes reddened slightly, and she said nothing else. On the way to the Jiang family's home, Zhou Ming called, Mr. Shen, we've obtained the surveillance footage from the sales office this afternoon. He suited indeed. Take manager Luo out through the back door, and he was carrying a document bag. I asked, where is he? Su? Couldn't find it. The sales office said he left in a hurry and didn't even take the original deposit agreement. Lawyer Meng, sitting in the front passenger seat, immediately chimed in. Back up the surveillance footage in 3 copies, send one to me, give one to the police, and keep one for the company. Zhou Ming agreed. The call had just ended when Su Duo sent another message. Mr. Shen, Xingyuan has noticed the online public opinion is spreading. Please have your company provide a draft public statement before 10 p.m. tonight. If the spread still cannot be contained by tomorrow morning, we will activate the project risk contingency plan. I handed my phone screen to Jiang Tinglan. She glanced at it, and her voice lowered. I'll write the explanation. The company statement will be written by the legal department. She paused for a moment. Then I'll write a personal statement. I didn't respond. The car fell silent again. She placed her phone on her lap, her fingertips brushing the edge of the marriage certificate before suddenly pulling away as if burned. The certificate slid from her lap to the floor by her feet. She didn't pick it up. The Jiang family lived in an elevator apartment in the old Chengqu. When we arrived downstairs, quite a few people had already gathered at the building entrance. Someone was holding up a phone to take pictures. Someone was whispering, it's this family's daughter. She got her marriage certificate with a man today, and by afternoon the creditors were already at the door. I heard it even involves several million from the company. Young people these days really know how to play. Jiang Tinglan walked in with her head lowered. In the past, she had cared most about appearances. Before meeting a client, even if a single strand of hair was out of place, she would restyle it. But this time, she passed through those gazes without saying a word. As soon as the elevator doors opened, crying and shouting came from the end of the hallway. His mother sat at the entrance of the Jiang family's home, slapping her thighs and crying. Beside her stood 2 creditors, along with a young woman holding up her phone as if live streaming. Jiang's father stood at the doorway, his face dark with anger. Mother Jiang sat on the sofa, clutching her chest, while the neighbor auntie poured water for her. As soon as mother he saw Jiang Tinglan, she immediately rushed forward. Tinglan, you're finally back. You and Xiaoxiu got your marriage certificate. You can't just turn around and pretend not to know us. Jiang Tinglan sidestepped to avoid her. Mother he lunged forward but missed, nearly falling to the ground. Her expression changed, and she cried even louder. Everyone, take a look, this is my daughter-in-law. She got the marriage certificate in the morning and teamed up with her ex-boyfriend in the afternoon to force my son. The murmurs in the hallway grew even louder. Father Jiang saw me, and his expression darkened instantly. Shenjibai, you still dare to come? Jiang Tinglan stood in front of me. Dad, he's here to handle the company evidence. Jiang's father sneered coldly. Handling evidence at my house? You got your marriage certificate with another man, and he's busier than I am as your father. Jiang Tinglan was stung by these words, her face turning pale. I didn't argue with Jiang's father. Lawyer Meng directly took out the documents. Mr. Jiang, we are here to preserve evidence that Su and his mother came to your home to apply pressure, spread false information, and attempt to force Jiang Tinglan to assume the debt. Jiang's father looked at him. Who are you? Launcher Technologies External Legal Counsel, Meng Huai. Attorney Meng placed the police station's case acceptance receipt, Henghui Guarantee suspension statement, and the letter requesting preservation of the sales office surveillance footage on the entryway cabinet. These materials prove that Su is suspected of using Jiang's and Launcher Technologies names without authorization to handle the guarantee, forged signatures, and steal company documents. Please do not believe the unilateral materials provided by the He family for now. His mother immediately shrieked, he's talking nonsense, they're all in cahoots. She pulled a stack of photocopies from her bag and shoved them into Mr. Jiang's hands. Look closely, in-laws, this is the marriage certificate, this is the joint repayment commitment, and this is your daughter's signature. Now she wants to run off with that guy surnamed Shen. And dump everything on our xiaoxiu, Mr. Jiang held those few sheets of paper, his expression turning extremely grim. Jiang Tinglan walked over and picked up the joint repayment commitment letter. This signature was cropped from last year's supplier authorization letter. Father Jiang stared at her. What about the marriage certificate? Her fingers stiffened. The marriage certificate is real. The hallway suddenly fell silent. Jiang's mother clutched her chest, tears falling down. Tinglan, how could you be so confused? Jiang Tinglan's eyes turned red, but she didn't avoid him. Mom, I'm sorry. Jiang's father was so angry that his hands were shaking. What's the use of being sorry? Before you got your marriage certificate with him, did you say a single word to the family? Did you tell Shen Jibai, is the company yours alone? It would be one thing if you were just making a joke of yourself, but you dragged the whole family into it. This time, Jiang Tinglan didn't say anything about just helping out. She stood at the door, took out the marriage certificate, and placed it on the entryway cabinet. I'll get a divorce, and I'll also cooperate with the police to investigate and verify all the forged materials. As soon as he heard that, she jumped up at once. You want a divorce? No way, Xiaoxiu won't sign. If you really want a divorce, fine. First pay back the money he owes, then compensate us for the deposit. Jiang Tinglan looked at her. The money Hisu owes, you should go to Hisu for it. Hisu's mother sneered. You are his wife now. Attorney Meng chimed in. Mr. Hisu's personal debts before marriage are not automatically the responsibility of Ms. Jiang in principle. Moreover, the materials you have brought now are suspected of fraud and forgery. Mother. He was left speechless. The young woman beside her suddenly raised her phone. You say it's fake, so it's fake. I'm live streaming right now. Everyone, take a look. Rich people hire a lawyer and try to weasel out of paying. I looked at her phone screen. The live stream didn't have many viewers, but the comments were already filled with insults. Jiang Tinglan saw the words, female boss scam marriage, ex-boyfriend stealing another man's wife, and company blackjack, and her face went pale. I directly took out my phone and pointed it at her. Keep broadcasting. The young woman froze. I said, you are now live streaming and spreading unverified debt information, company business records, and personal privacy. Attorney Meng will screen record this simultaneously, and we'll file a lawsuit together afterward. Her hand shook, and the live stream image wobbled. His mother immediately shouted, who are you trying to scare? I opened the page of the hidden camera video from the Civil Affairs Bureau that Xing Yuan's legal department had forwarded, that video at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. You were the one who posted it, weren't you? A flash of panic crossed Madame He's face. I don't know what you're talking about. The angle was from the right-hand steps. You were standing there at the time. I paused the video and zoomed in. In the reflection of the glass door at the bottom right corner of the screen, half of a purple suit dress could be seen. It was exactly the same as the clothes he was wearing. Someone in the hallway let out an, ah, it really is her. The young woman instinctively lowered her phone. Mother. He still wanted to deny it. What's wrong with me taking a picture of my own daughter-in-law? If she dares to do it, why should she be afraid of being seen? Jiang Tinglan looked at her. You weren't filming me. Her voice was icy cold. You wanted to stir up public opinion to pressure me and the company into giving Hisu money. Mother. He slapped the doorframe. If you don't give the money, what will happen to my son? What about his house? What about his debts? Why didn't you think about these things when you went with him to get the marriage certificate? Jiang Tinglan fell silent for 2 seconds. I was foolish at the time. Mother. He froze for a moment. Jiang Tinglan looked up. But just because I'm stupid doesn't mean you can commit a crime. As soon as those words fell, the elevator doors opened. 2 police officers walked out. Mother. His expression changed, and she immediately stopped crying. Father Jiang was also stunned. Attorney Meng stepped forward and briefly explained the situation. The police officer looked at Himu and the young woman. Who is live streaming here? The young woman immediately hid her phone behind her back. I didn't, I was just recording a bit. The police officer's voice was stern. The scene involves citizens' personal information, business operation materials, and debt disputes. Disseminating unverified information may constitute an infringement. Please stop filming and cooperate with the investigation. The young woman dared not utter a word. Mother. He felt like crying again. Officer, I'm the victim here. My son was forced by them not to come home. The police officer asked, where is Hisu? His mother froze. I don't know. My phone suddenly vibrated. It was an unfamiliar number. I answered and put it on speakerphone. Hisu's voice came through. Shen Jibai, did you go to my mom's place? The hallway fell silent instantly. Mrs. His expression changed drastically. Son, don't make that call. Hishio paused for a moment on the other end. He clearly hadn't expected her to shout out. The police officer immediately looked at me. I handed the phone over. The officer signaled for me to continue the call. I asked, where are you? Hisu sneered. None of your business where I am. You like calling the police, don't you? I'll send out all the launcher tech materials right now, Xing Yuan, the investors, the suppliers, I won't leave a single one out. Jiang Tinglan's face turned pale. I said, go ahead and send it. Hisu was clearly taken aback. I continued. Once you send it out, the evidence chain for illegally obtaining trade secrets, extortion, and infringing on company rights will be even more complete. His breathing grew heavier. Stop trying to scare me. I glanced at the police officer. So you're calling now because you want to negotiate terms? Hisu gritted his teeth. I want 3 million, in cash, transfer it to the account I specify before noon tomorrow. Once I get the money, I'll sign the divorce papers and delete the files. Hisu's mother collapsed on the floor. Jiang's father's expression changed. The neighbors in the hallway didn't dare gossip anymore. The police officer held the recording device, his expression grave. I asked, 3 million to buy your signature on the divorce agreement. Hisu's voice turned vicious. And you withdraw the case. What if we don't? Then let Jiang Tinglan keep fighting me. She's my wife, and launcher technology is her life. Let's see who can outlast whom. Jiang Tinglan suddenly walked over. She took the phone. Hisu. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. She said, I won't give you any money. Hisu sneered. Your parents are here too, right? Let them hear how you're now disregarding your own husband's life and death for Shinjibai. Jiang Tinglan closed her eyes. From the moment you sent copies of our marriage certificate to the creditors, you no longer deserve to speak with that identity. Hisu's voice turned cold. Jiang Tinglan, don't you dare regret this. I already do. She gripped her phone, her fingertips turning white. I regret walking into the Civil Affairs Bureau this morning. The other end of the phone suddenly went silent. The next second, the call was disconnected. The police officer immediately stepped aside to contact technical colleagues. Father Jiang stood at the doorway, his expression shifting from anger to embarrassment. Mother Jiang clutched her chest. Tears kept falling, but she said nothing more. Mother, he finally realized that the phone call just now had been heard by everyone. She got up and tried to leave. Lawyer Meng stopped her. You were just here distributing materials, organizing others to livestream, and assisting Hisu in coming to apply pressure at the door. The police need you to stay and explain the situation. Himu said sharply, I don't understand the law. Lawyer Meng looked at her. Not understanding doesn't mean it wasn't done. The police officer also spoke up. Please cooperate. Mother, his face turned ashen. The young woman panicked even more, quickly handing over her phone. Not daring to delete anything, Father Jiang looked down at the marriage certificate on the entryway cabinet, then after a moment, reached out and picked it up. Jiang Tinglan instinctively spoke up, Dad. Jiang's father did not look at her. He opened the marriage certificate, stared at the photo on it, his fingers trembling with force. Your mother used to say you were stubborn, that once you set your mind on someone, you'd charge ahead. I always thought it was a good thing for young people to have that drive. He looked up at her, his eyes filled with both pain and anger. Jiang Tinglan, being impulsive doesn't mean you get to close your eyes. Tears fell down Jiang Tinglan's face. I know. Jiang's father closed the marriage certificate and put it back into her hands. Take this and handle it yourself. Jiang Tinglan took it. This time, she didn't dodge or throw it away again. She placed the certificate into the document folder, alongside the case receipt and the guarantee statement. No longer a proof of relationship, it is evidence. Several phones in the hallway suddenly rang at the same time. Someone lowered their head to check the group chat message. Lao Liang sent me a link. The source account has been found. The mobile phone number linked to the account that first posted the secretly recorded video from the Civil Affairs Bureau ends with digits that belong to a supplementary card under his mother's name. I handed the phone to the police officer. His mother had just been helped to her feet, but upon seeing the screen, her entire body froze instantly. At the same moment, a voice came through the police officer's walkie-talkie. Located Hisu's phone signal, near the South City bus station, suspected to be preparing to leave the city. Jiang Tinglan suddenly looked up. The police officer turned and headed toward the elevator. My phone vibrated again. Zhou Ming sent a photo. In the waiting hall of the South City bus station, Hisu was wearing a hat and pulling a suitcase. Below the photo, Zhou Ming had only sent one sentence. The person has been found. The police have arrived. 10. Hisu was taken away at the South City bus station. Zhou Ming did not get too close. He only stood on the second-floor platform and used his phone to take a picture of Hisu dragging his suitcase toward the ticket gate. In the frame, Hisu held a ticket in one hand and gripped his phone in the other. When the police walked past from both sides, he froze for a moment, then immediately turned and ran. He only ran 3 steps. The suitcase got stuck on the ticket barrier, toppled over, and the zipper burst open. A stack of documents fell out from inside: copies of the Lonstone Technology contract, Shengyuan project materials, Henghui guarantee receipt. There are also several signed blank authorization pages. When Zhou Ming posted the video in the company group chat, no one spoke. A few seconds later, Xiaochen sent a period, not a celebration. It's that breath I've been holding in, finally finding a place. To land, when I arrived at the police station, Hisu was already sitting outside the interrogation room. His hair was disheveled, his suit wrinkled beyond recognition, but the watch on his wrist was still there, the watch that Jiang Tinglan bought with my money and ended up wearing on his wrist. He saw me, and his expression instantly darkened. Shen Jibai, you're ruthless. I sat down across from him. You stole the information, forged the signature, demanded the money, and made the phone call. I looked at him. Where am I being ruthless? The corner of his mouth twitched. Don't get too cocky. Jiang Tinglan isn't innocent either. Without her approval, could I have accessed your company's system? Without her adding me to the project group, could I have obtained Xing Yuan's information? So she will bear the responsibility she deserves. He was taken aback for a moment, perhaps in his calculations. I would definitely protect Jiang Tinglan for the sake of the company. Jiang Tinglan would definitely protect him for the sake of their past relationship. Everyone has a weakness. He has been prying open doors all along by exploiting these weaknesses, but this time, the door is closed. Jiang Tinglan emerged from another interrogation room. She spotted Hisu and halted her steps. Hisu immediately stood up. Tinglan, you need to explain to them. I wasn't stealing. You asked me to help organize the materials. You can't just push all the blame onto me now. She looked at him. I made it clear. A glimmer of hope flashed in Hisu's eyes. She continued, I made it clear what permissions I had given you, and I also made it clear how you overstepped those permissions, copied materials, forged signatures, and used my marital relationship to deceive loans and guarantees. The hope on Hisu's face froze. Are you really going to destroy me? Jiang Tinglan tightened the document bag in his hand. You were the one who destroyed the part of me that trusted you first. Hisu let out a laugh that looked ugly. What are you pretending to be sober for now? Jiang Tinglan, don't forget, when you were sitting next to me taking photos this morning, you didn't push me away either. Her face went pale for a moment, but this time, she didn't back down. So I will go through with the divorce and accept the investigation, but your crime won't become innocent just because I was foolish. Hisu's face darkened completely. A police officer approached. Hisu, come with us. Before being taken inside, Hisu suddenly turned back to look at me. Shen Jibai, do you think Xing Yuan will still trust you? Do you think the investors will still invest? Once I'm in, you're all finished too. I didn't respond to him because my phone was vibrating. Su Duo sent a message. Mr. Shen, we have received the police case acceptance receipt, Heng Hui's suspension notice, and the preliminary evidence collection report. Xing Yuan is willing to continue with the acceptance, but the payment will first go into a supervised account and will be released only after the disputed documents are withdrawn. I forwarded the message to Xiao Chen. She quickly replied with a voice message. The voice carried a sob. Mr. Shen, can we get our salaries now? I listened to it twice before replying to her. Pay the employees first, negotiate extensions with suppliers based on priority. I'll sign off on it. After sending this message, I leaned against the corridor wall and finally felt the intense ache in my shoulders. This day took me from the Civil Affairs Bureau to the company, from the company to the police station, from the police station to Heng Hui, then to the Jiang family, and finally back here. Every place held a face that had been torn apart. Jiang Tinglan stood not far away, watching the screen of my phone. She did not speak. Lawyer Meng came out of the office. The police will continue the investigation. Hisu won't be easily released anytime soon. At the very least, they need to verify the leads involving theft of materials, forged signatures, and extortion. He handed another document to Jiang Tinglan. This is the initial draft of the divorce lawsuit materials. We'll file the case at the court tomorrow morning. Jiang Tinglan took it. Okay. Attorney Meng then looked at me. I will also simultaneously prepare the civil lawsuit against Hisu and Su Heng Consulting. The supplementary agreement revocation letter for Xing Yuan will be sent out tonight. I nodded. Thank you for your hard work. At 11:30 p.m., we returned to the company. The office lights were still on. Xiao Chen and Lao Liang had both not left yet. In the finance office, the printer was spitting out payment priority lists one by one. Lao Liang packaged the public opinion evidence files. Zhou Ming was lying on the desk, with half a cup of cold coffee beside his hand. When he saw me come in, he immediately stood up. Mr. Shen, the Xing Yuan acceptance team will come at 9 tomorrow morning, I said. Prepare according to the original plan, he said. Okay. Jiang Tinglan stood at the doorway and did not go inside. When a few people saw her, their expressions were somewhat complicated. She took off her employee badge and placed it on the front desk. That employee badge had already worn down at the corners. When the company was first founded, she and I had them made at a little roadside shop. In the photo, she was smiling brightly, and below it was printed, co-founder, Jiang Tinglan. She looked at it for a while, then reached out and flipped the badge Over the back is an access card, she said to the receptionist. Su, starting tomorrow, my access permissions will be suspended. The technical department needs my cooperation for evidence collection. Feel free to contact me anytime. Su glanced at me, I nodded. She then whispered softly, understood, MS, Jiang, MS, Jiang. The address got stuck halfway, and in the end, it was changed. Jiang Tinglan heard it, her eyes reddened for a moment, but she quickly suppressed it. Xiaochen came out of the finance office, holding the salary confirmation slip in her hand. Seeing Jiang Tinglan, she stopped. Jiang Tinglan walked over. Xiaochen. Xiaochen did not respond. She placed a bank card on the table. This is all the cash I can access from my personal account right now. 480,000 yuan. Use it to cover the urgent gap in the company caused by me. For the rest, I will continue to compensate according to the investigation results. Xiaochen looked at the card but did not take it. This isn't something a card can solve. Jiang Tinglan nodded. I know. She put the card down, but the first installment that needs to be made up, let's start with that. Xiaochen pursed his lips and finally pushed the card toward me. Mr. Shen will decide. I picked up the card and handed it to lawyer Meng. Proceed with the formal loan and compensation confirmation process, place it under supervision, and do not credit it directly to the account. Attorney Meng nodded. Jiang Tinglan had no objection. At 1 a.m., the first version of the company statement was released. No sob story, no emotional disputes, just make 4 things clear. Launcher Technology discovered that a former employee's related party was suspected of illegally obtaining company materials and forging authorization documents. The company has reported the case to the authorities and is cooperating with the investigation. An application has been filed to revoke the unauthorized supplementary agreement related to the Xingyuan project. The company is operating normally, and customer acceptance continues. The words, former employee affiliates, feel very cold. It's also very accurate. Jiang Tinglan looked at the instructions, her finger pausing on the words, former employee. She didn't ask if it could be changed, she knew it couldn't be changed. The next morning, the Xingyuan acceptance team arrived at the company on time. Su Duo also came. He first watched the company's technical demonstration and then reviewed the permission rectification list. Lao Liang spoke continuously for 2 hours, his voice completely hoarse. This time, Jiang Tinglan was not sitting in the conference room. She was waiting in the reception area outside for the police to provide additional materials. At the end of the acceptance review, Su Duo stood up and shook hands with me. The project itself is not an issue, President Shen. Xingyuan hopes to continue the collaboration, but your internal governance needs to catch up as soon as possible. I held his hand. It will be compensated. He glanced at Jiang Tinglan outside. The glass, personal favors and authority should not be mixed together, I said. The tuition has already been paid. Su Duo didn't say anything more. At 3 in the afternoon, Xingyuan sent over the payment supervision agreement. The first installment was transferred into the third-party escrow account. As long as the court confirms that the disputed pledge and supplementary agreement are invalid, the funds will be released to Launcher Technology. This is not a complete victory, but the company has temporarily survived. At the same time, the investor sent a notice. This round of financing has been extended for a 30-day review, not withdrawn, but I am required to submit an internal control rectification report. I forwarded the notice to the team. The group chat fell silent for a few seconds. Xiaochen sent a message, at least he's not dead. Old Liang added, then get to work. Someone in the office finally gave a little laugh, very light, but it sounded better than those cries the day before. Over the next few days, one thing after another was resolved. The record of the secondary card under his mother's name being used to post the leaked video was preserved, and the related video was taken down by the platform. The segment broadcast live by the young woman was also deleted, and the account issued an apology. Henghui Guarantee issued a statement confirming that Jiang Tinglan did not appear in person, and the relevant pledge process was terminated. The sales office returned part of the materials, and the He family's deposit dispute will be handled separately. He Su's creditors also changed direction. The bald man called me once. He said they would sue He Su and stop blocking Launcher Technology. Just before hanging up, he cursed, "This bastard even fooled us." I didn't say anything. A scammer does not just deceive one person, he will deceive everyone willing to trust him, or who has no choice but to trust him. On the 7th day, the court officially accepted Jiang Tinglan's divorce lawsuit. On the same day, Launcher Technology filed a civil lawsuit against He Su and Shuhang Consulting, seeking to invalidate the relevant supplementary agreement, claim compensation for losses, and prohibit further use of the company's business materials. Attorney Meng placed 2 sets of case filing materials on my desk. The service will be quick. I opened the first page and saw the name in the defendant column, He Su, Shuhang Consulting. There is also a separate set of divorce case materials. Plaintiff, Jiang Tinglan. Defendant, he Su. These three names together finally tore apart the red background photo from that morning. I closed the file. What about Jiang Tinglan? She has moved out of the company apartment and is now living with her parents. The police need her continued cooperation, and she has submitted the complete chat records. Attorney Meng paused for a moment. She asked me to tell you that she will take responsibility for the company's losses. I did not respond. Attorney Meng looked at me and finally said, I'll go to the court first. After the company resumed its busy pace, time seemed to have been rewound like a clock. Xingyuan passed the acceptance inspection. When the first installment of the regulatory funds was released and employee salaries were paid, Xiaochen sent a red envelope in the group chat. The amount wasn't large, with a note that read, Launcher is alive. After everyone finished scrambling, no one mentioned Jiang Tinglan. Her office was sealed off. The nameplate on the door was taken down and put into the evidence box. The pot of potholes on the table hasn't been watered, and half of its leaves have wilted. Su asked me if I wanted to throw it away. I glanced at it. Leave it for now. It's not that I couldn't bear to part with it, it's just that everything has to wait until the evidence collection is over. On the 12th day, the day the court documents were served, I saw Jiang Tinglan downstairs at the company building. She was wearing a black coat, her hair tied low, holding a document envelope in her hand. She had lost a lot of weight since that day at the Civil Affairs Bureau. She stood at the entrance but didn't come in. The security guard recognized her but didn't let her in directly, only calling the front desk. When I went downstairs, she was standing outside the glass door of the lobby. The sunlight fell on her face, illuminating the weariness in her eyes. She saw me and first handed over the document folder in her hand. This is the second batch of materials I've organized. It includes the list of suppliers, client assistants, and external consultants that he Su previously contacted in my name. I took it. Give it to Attorney Meng. She nodded. The electronic version has already been sent. Here's a paper copy for you. We were separated by a security gate. In the past, she would swipe her card to come and go, and everyone would make way for her. Now she has to wait for my nod before she can hand in the materials. She looked at the gate, her eyes slightly reddened. Has the Xingyuan payment been received? Part of it has arrived. Has the salary been paid? It has. She breathed a sigh of relief. That's good. People were coming and going in the hall. Everyone who passed by would instinctively glance in our direction. Jiang Tinglan no longer avoided it. She took another document out of her bag. The divorce case was served today. The cover bore the name of the court. Below it was a line of text, summons. She pressed her fingertips against those two words and said softly. He Su refused to accept it. The court contacted his mother, and in the end it was sent to the police station. I looked at that summons, said nothing. She looked up at me. Shenjibai, I know that whatever I say now won't matter. Her throat tightened. I'm not here to beg for your forgiveness, nor am I here to beg you to save the company. I'm just telling you, I'll see this through to the end. I nodded. Then let's see it through to the end. Tears fell from her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. There's one more thing. She took a bank card receipt out of the document envelope. The personal assets under my name that can be disposed of have been entrusted to a lawyer for liquidation. The portion that can compensate the company will follow the procedures. For what cannot be immediately covered, I will sign a repayment agreement. I took the receipt. The company will handle it according to the regulations. All right. She stood there, as if she still had something to say, but in the end, she just glanced at the Lawnstone Technology logo on the wall of the hall. That logo was hand-drawn by her back in the day. The edges of the letters had a hint of stone texture. She said starting a business is like growing something from a crack in a rock. Slow, but it can grow. That rock is still there now. It's just that she can no longer stand beneath it. Suddenly, an argument broke out outside the door. The security guard stopped two people. Mrs. He was wearing that purple suit, her hair disheveled, clutching a stack of documents in her hand. Standing behind her was He Su. In just over 10 days, he seemed like a completely different person. His cheeks were sunken, dark circles under his eyes, and his suit was crumpled. He saw Jiang Tinglan standing with me, and his expression twisted instantly. Jiang Tinglan, you actually came looking for him. Jiang Tinglan turned around. She didn't hide behind me. He Mu rushed forward and threw the things in her hands into her arms. Are you satisfied now? The court summons has been delivered to our home. You want to divorce my son and sue him for compensation. Are you trying to drive our family to ruin? A few sheets of paper scattered on the ground. I looked down and saw the court summons, a copy of the complaint, and the notice to respond. One was a divorce case, one was Lawnship Technology suing He Su and Shuhang Consulting, and another was a creditor suing He Su over a loan dispute. He Xian bent down to pick it up, his fingers trembling violently. He looked up at Jiang Tinglan, his voice hoarse. Tinglan, withdraw the lawsuit. As long as you withdraw it, I'll sign the divorce agreement. Jiang Tinglan looked at him. It's too late. Hisu's expression changed. Do you have to be so ruthless? She took out the summons she was holding. Hisu, it's the court that summoned you, not me. His lips trembled slightly. In the past, whenever he showed this expression, Jiang Tinglan would soften, but this time, she simply placed the summons back into the file folder. Anything that needs to be said can be said in court. Mother, he wanted to sit on the ground and cry again. The security guard had already walked over, directly blocking her path. The receptionist, Asu, picked up the phone. Keep making trouble and I'll call the police. Mother, he's sobbing, caught in her throat. Hisu looked at me, his eyes full of hatred. Shenjibai, you've won. I looked at the few sheets of paper in his hand. You should go and respond to the lawsuit. He clenched the summons, the veins on the back of his hand bulging. Jiang Tinglan walked past me. She didn't look back, nor did she call my name again. The glass door opened and closed. She stood at the bottom of the steps outside the building and hailed a taxi to leave on her own. Hisu and his mother were escorted out of the lobby by security. They stood at the door, one holding the indictment, the other holding the court summons, their faces ashen as they were buffeted by the wind. I turned and went back to the company. Before the elevator doors closed, I saw that glass door again. On the day at the Civil Affairs Bureau, Jiang Tinglan and Hisu came out of the door, holding their marriage certificates. When they stood before me again, they held court summons in their hands.